Just like in the movies.
Welcome to SuperWonder Legacy. I am Jared. I am here with Britt. What's up, Britt?
Hello, hello.
And Jed's back. What's up, dude?
Hey, how's it going?
So today we are going to be building our own history of the DC universe, and we're going to do it much better than Mark Waid did. So the first thing that we're going to do here, the purpose of this project is the three of us wanted to see if we could bring together New 52 and post-crisis, and in many ways kind of have a rebirth of sorts.
Not the regurgitated fetus, though.
No, exactly. Not the lazy-ass nostalgia bait, an actual rebirth of DC. And we're basing it around Superman and Wonder Woman. I mean, that should surprise no one considering the show is called Super Legacy and we're doing this. But, what's up, Louis, Lewis, NJ, and Cameron? Yeah, we're going to have so much fun. It's going to be one of his new candidates. So what we did is we all hopped in a Google Drive and created a timeline. We had many arguments about what's canon and what's not, which character should be older or not, but we made through it. We made it through. So, right, Britt?
Yes, we did.
All right. So let's do this. All right. So once again, as we're talking about it, it's a lot of like, because one of the things that we wanted to do, obviously we're all Superman and Wonder Woman fans, and what we wanted to do is base this around and put Wonder Woman and Superman as the centers of the DC universe, because in many ways they are, or they should be in the case of Wonder Woman, not Batman, for obvious reasons, because Batman gets enough crap. But so a lot of it is if we were in charge of DC, this is basically what we would do from an editorial standpoint, and we would fire anyone that would oppose us. In fact, what I would do, I don't know what you guys think, but if I took over DC, I would fire one person just to consolidate power.
Jurgens.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. I would say, hey, Jurgens, your stuff's canceled. Oh, and and then I would, but not before him and him. He has to respectfully do the wedding of Superman and Wonder Woman. And I would say, you can't reference the death of Superman in any way.
You know, he should not even get that honor.
Well, actually, I'd say Charles Sewell, here's a piece of paper. Just write words on it. Just write whatever you want on it. It's yours. I'm fine with that. Just do whatever you want. And then NJ, I know NJ would fire Tom King. Well, yeah, that's pretty obvious at that point. Waid too, please. Oh, yeah, I would get rid of Mark Waid for sure. So this is a perfect time, but once you guys have to go through the board of directors, well, if we were in charge of DC, we would be the board of directors. Can you imagine us if we ran DC? Oh, my God. It would be pettiness, but that would be our new publishing initiative. How petty can we be? It's time for vengeance, baby. Yeah.
My goodness.
Yeah, I know. So again, a lot of this is centering around Superman and Wonder Woman, because from a universe perspective, from a publishing standpoint, they should be the center. Because when you think about it, most of the heroes take their cues from Superman and Wonder Woman. And Superman because of the hope stuff, but Wonder Woman also because in addition to being like the hope part, in addition to Superman, she also brings in the peace and like the truth part of being a superhero. So really, I'd say it's more half and half on why they are together, which is why them being a couple makes a lot of sense, eh, Britt?
Exactly. I mean, I don't understand how is it so difficult for anyone to misinterpret, the pairing itself, whether it is them as friends or as a couple. You have, as you said, Diana represents actual truth, not the whole lies of omission or the conflict of interest. She actually lives in the embodiment of truth. And
Exactly.
with Clark, I mean, he has the pursuit of truth, but he lives in lies of omission. So that is one of the challenges presented in their relationship, and how do they, get through that? Because of his life with the secret identity, Diana, you know, most of the time doesn't. She lives in her culture, he doesn't. So, yeah, you have that back and forth with them and can truly play off of that, whether it is challenging them or them seeing each other's perspective. It's much better of a story than basically what we're getting, even with the new movie of Superman is, going through, um, he's basically Superboy in a sense, being only 3 years into his career as Superman, and even, I guess, being a reporter. But he wants everything to come into place so easily, and he gets frustrated with it. But it's like, you can't have everything on a silver platter. You just can't.
Exactly. And by the way,
And
Julian asked, "Would you guys hire Zack Snyder?"
yeah,
I mean,
of
I'm wearing
course.
the shirt, so I think you guys should. I mean, hey, Zach, you want to write a comic book about DC to piss people off? He'd be like, yes. And Barry Cameron says, it's because of injustice, Britt. And so you paired the quarterback with the cheerleader daring today, aren't we? Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
so this is my thing with the whole quarterback and the cheerleader. First of all, that is like the whole loser mentality. Okay. First of all, that is the only thing that's like really in movies. But in reality, cheerleaders and football players, basketball players, whatever, whether you are on cheerleaders or drill team, dance team, or whatever, they do get together. That is the thing, because they are in the same group. But the way that comic fans, make it seem like is that they are the nerds that get pushed into lockers, and you have the popular kids, which are they're snooty and they are airheads or something like that. If you know Clark and Diana as characters, first of all, if Diana is to be she wouldn't be a cheerleader. She would be on the track team or volleyball, basketball. Hell, she would be on the football team with Clark if you want to get technical. Um, but even as a cheerleader, that is not an insult. It's not at all. There are plenty of being a cheerleader is being athletic, and
So in
also
a way, Britt, what you're telling me is that, oh, that's obvious.
yes, it is. In a nutshell, is very obvious, but that's not a bad thing. I mean, you have the traditional relationships, and you are expected to have those. You again, the Superman movie, they are skipping all of development and having Clark with Lois from jump. You know,
What do you mean, Britt? They're having the Kens be racist.
Jared.
I really hope that's false. By the way, Britt, so you're telling me that the quarterback and the cheerleader have a special bond?
Oh my goodness, you are on a roll.
Yeah, I
With
am. I've been saving all this. By the way, I love. Let's see, a DC movie directed by Jared and Zack Snyder. Hey Zach, you want to do the Superman Wonder Woman movie? Just to really screw people. But anyway, so Jid, what do you think about like the idea about the? Well, yeah, Louise. So in the Superman movie, there's like a plot leak that like the Kents refer to Mr. Terrific as, oh yeah, that black man. And I go, I really hope that's not in the movie. I really hope, because that's gonna be horrible. What do you think, Jid?
Well, when I first read that, I was so startled because I'm like, the Kents will not say that in a million years. Like, these are the Kents. Like, they have taught Clark, his how to become how to just become a kind person, and the humility that comes with being in Smallville. I Not in a million years would I read that in a Superman book. So why
I
is
mean,
that a
this is
thing?
James Gunn.
It's just,
Well, yeah, you should know that. Yeah,
so
So
exactly. So, what's our vision of our timeline? And it's essentially So what we're doing, we're gonna go through a lot of different characters. This isn't just gonna be Superman and Wonder Woman, but for the most part, in terms of like who's on the slides, it's gonna be mostly Superman and Wonder Woman. I had to like be very selective because otherwise there'd be like 8,000 slides. But anyway, what what we wanted to do with this is we wanted to approach these things not the way DC would do it. In other words, creatively, because there's a lot of stuff that we did on this. We're not just redoing storylines. We're actually like approaching it in a new way. And there's going to be something that I came up with later that when I thought of it, I was like, actually, you know what? I'm in charge. I could do this. So let's just do this. So, but like, NJ says, do you guys agree on Superman giving Homelander advice with that scene with Lex? No, Superman has always shown like some point of emotion. I mean, remember, my favorite moment of Superman is where Apollo beats insults Wonder Woman's honor, so Clark throws him through a volcano. I'm fine with Superman being like a badass. It's just, I think people are being a little too critical of Superman in that part.
Yeah, because he is supposed to be like this sunshine cinnamon roll. And honestly, I blame My Adventures of Superman
Mm-hmm.
for that because he doesn't show anger, he cries. Also, you have it in certain comic storylines where he acts like a preachy, this ray of sunshine, especially when you're trying to give contrast to Batman's dark, broody, emo behavior, whatever. And also, even with Lois, she is supposed to quote unquote ground him into that sort of
Mm-hmm.
nature. And when he actually shows emotion, like we saw in New 52 or like we see in that clip, it's like, oh, this is not Superman. Then with New 52 Superman, he's Batman because he didn't have the Kents. That just shows that no, you never read Golden Age.
Exactly.
His entire personality, basically, it's not Batman. Batman was actually inspired by Superman. So,
Exactly.
you
And
know,
even when you read Action Comics by Grant, that wasn't like any no. Gun's not going to make Diana behead people. I just want to be clear on that. By the way, Julian asked,
I
"Do you
mean, you
guys
never
not
know.
like? Do you guys not like Reeves Superman? I like Reeves for the time period he exists in. I don't want every version of Superman to be that. Just like I don't want
Exactly.
every version of Superman to be Henry Cavill. Even though that may be my Superman, I don't expect every version of the character to reflect it because you can't do that. Inevitably, you have to allow, and this is what Cavill and Reed both stated, they want to see other creatives get to take their own unique take on Superman. Gunn may be going with a very derivative take on it, but we'll see. But my point is, you have to at least allow people the chance to have their own version of Superman. This is why I tweeted a while back that like the Superman fandom has a very unhealthy obsession with Christopher Reeve to the point where they wanted Zach to deep fake Christopher Reeve's face over Cavill.
Exactly. Or the fact that you have, instead of creating your own theme, he has a remix version of the Donner one. And it's kind of like, okay, yeah, you want to homage the past and, keep that legacy alive. But at the same time, please modernize the character so we won't be stuck in stagnation.
By the way, so I was talking to my mom last night, and she told me that she saw like so she told me, I was watching a trailer, and there was a superhero that had like a really bad costume, and I go, was it Superman? And then she goes, yeah. And it's like, even she's like, the trunks look. She is very much aligned with you and me, Britt. That like the trunks have to go. I mean, I get what. Do you guys remember like their reasoning for the trunks is that Superman knows he's scary to people, so he wears the trunks, so people like essentially laugh at him and like accept him more. I go, that is the stupidest reason for the trunks ever.
I mean, you could have just went with that is old school. It's the wrestling, strongman thing. I would take that more than, oh, we want him to be laughed at. I mean, it's already like take again the inspiration from New 52. He doesn't wear a mask. Why? Because he wants people to trust him. Um, and basically see his handsome face. So it's like that's all it takes. But having this nostalgic obsession with the big red granny panties and the onesie, no, and it especially when it looks like a onesie, and no,
Well,
I'm
we all
just no.
know, Britt, that the trunks awaken some desires in some Superman fans.
You know what?
I'm on board with these puns. But anyway, Jen, where do you align on the whole trunks and no trunks thing?
Honestly, I'm more of a Trunks person when it comes to cartoons, when it comes to animation, because it's much more easier to draw it there. But it does not translate well in live action.
No.
It looks decent in this movie, and I think by some
Look at
grace
Diaper.
they kind of pulled it off.
Mhm.
But usually it's not looking good. Like, yeah, I'm not
Exactly.
a big fan of it.
And Julian, Britt and I did an episode on My Adventures with Superman, but my thing is like, I didn't like it because they over animated Superman and made Lois Lane the main character in a Superman. And you may wonder why didn't they just make a Lois Lane cartoon? Well, it's very simple. It's because no one would watch a Lois Lane cartoon.
Right. And the whole thing is, the anime tropes, the very basic ones, the over the top ones. And sometimes it works, sometimes it can be cute, but other times it's very obnoxious, especially the obsession with Lois being so much shorter than Clark, and the way she looks of like she looks like a 12-year-old instead of she's supposed to be like early
Including the
20s.
haircut.
And, yeah, including a pixie cut. And Clark, he, like I said, he's a crybaby. He doesn't have, and also Krypton, they turned it basically into Invincible vibes, so
Yeah.
I'm not feeling that show. They are going too fast, rushing everything. And again, the relationships aren't developed properly. And any type of drama, they gloss over or get over it too quickly.
By the way, Cameron said, and Cameron says, Jared, you are saying lame, right? Because ever since you coined that nickname, I cannot hear the difference between lame and lane. Me too. I really cannot I cannot hear that. Marvel animes are way better. Oh yes, like the Punisher, Black Widow anime or the X-Men anime are peak. How did my Adventures with Superman reminds us of how they did Peter Parker? I don't know. So, how does the universe start? Well, with a big bang, of course, and we get Perpetua in the source wall, because the story is, so Perpetua was like, I think it was, she was one of the aliens called the Hand, and they like basically created everything, but it's like she wanted to like play with creation and create a multiverse, and they didn't want her to do that, so they imprisoned her. And I think her kids, the Monitor, Anti-Monitor, and the World Forger, were supposed to like watch over her. So I think that's the way it works. It's like when Scott Snyder gets cosmic-y, it gets a little bit convoluted.
Yeah, he should definitely stick with like the horror vibes that he try to do because yeah, trying to be like Grant Morrison 2.0 is not so much his forte. Um, the concept is there. It's just the execution is a little off.
Well, and we all know the only way to be Grant Morrison is to write a story that doesn't make sense unless you're doing mushrooms or something like that. I mean, have you guys tried to read Final Crisis? It's almost impossible. I'm just saying. What do you want to add, Jid?
I was gonna say that's Crisis for you. So if you read Infinite Crisis, if you read Final Crisis, like you're gonna need like a lot of shrooms for that one. And even oh my gosh, even the first Crisis on Infinite Earths, like I read that like I would say at least 5 times, and I still don't get it. Like it's like what the actual heck.
Well, here's
like,
the thing. Look at the size of the Final Crisis omnibus.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my god.
Look at how much this thing collects. Hang on. Look at that. Most of this is backstory.
Wow.
And all those tie-ins.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
And that's the only way that Final Crisis starts to make sense. That's the thing. I was reading this and I'm like, okay, I get it a little bit, but the minute Superman sings Darkseid to death, I'm like, nope, I'm out. I'm out. Yeah, he literally sings and he creates a wishing machine to undo everything. I'm just like, I'm like, what is this?
Wow.
This is the craziest story I have ever heard, which is most of Grant Morrison's writing, honestly, except of course in his JLA run. His JLA run was relatively grounded for Grant Morrison.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, ah, God, yeah. Oh, drugs make the story, bro. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So then we get the gods, old and new. So what you have here, you have the Spectre, you have Michael the Archangel, and a lot of the like more godly characters. You also have the new gods because obviously you have like Apocalypse and the New Genesis. I liked one of the things that they did in History of the DC Universe that I really like is they differentiated what they meant by new gods because previously people would have thought that the old gods were like the Greek gods and stuff, but it's not. So I'm like, okay, there you go. Because otherwise Zeus should be dead if we're talking about like compared to Darkseid in that sense. But continuing on, it's like this. So, and then we get Oa and the Green Lantern Corps, which obviously that I don't think I have to like differentiate that much. But what happens with that is that then you get the Manhunters, which go full Skynet and destroy Sector 666, leading to the creation of Atrocitus and the Red Lantern Corps. So we're gonna go with that. Vandal Savage and Atlantis are formed after the Earth is created. Do you guys know the actual history of like the new gods? By the way,
No.
No, yeah, no.
all right. So what happened is there was this one planet, and then Ragnarok happens, and the planet like gets all the gods are destroyed, and then the planets break apart, and and this is all outside of the multiverse. So that's why there's only one dark side and one like High Father and such. So two planets form: New Genesis and Apocalypse. One is good, one is bad. Darkseid leads. Well, first Yuga Khan led Apocalypse, but then Darkseid overthrew him and became Darkseid, and then High Father. So ever so often, New Genesis and Apocalypse would go to war with each other. The problem is their war was so destructive that it would destroy everything. So they came up with a plan to promote peace. They would swap sons. So that's why Orion is in New Genesis, because Orion is Darkseid's son and Scott Free is High Father's son. He goes to Apocalypse. Then he would break out every now and then, obviously fall in love with Barda, leave and form the Justice League. So that's kind of where the whole new gods come from.
Oh, that's interesting.
They actually did explain this very clearly and very like understandingly, if you will, in Superman the Animated Series, the 2-part Apocalypse Now. So then we get our favorite part, the Amazons. Okay, I'm gonna say this. Yeah, I agree. The Amazons have to be the George Perez new. As much as I don't like a lot of post-crisis, this is like the part that I'm like, no, we got to keep, because it's like it's a lot of like poetic irony that the woman that's like killed via domestic violence essentially becomes the queen of the Amazons, and her daughter becomes like Wonder Woman.
Exactly. That is the full circle that I think, you know, Perez tried to set, but a lot of these writers, it goes over their heads, and even as I said last night, or when we were creating this and trying to make the connections, you know, with Hippolyta being the reincarnation of this cave woman, this is why she's so protective over Diana, because her last, life was protecting her child, her unborn child. So of course she would have that same feeling of Diana. I don't like it how when they try to make strains, you know, or drama between Diana and Hippolyta, and they want to. It's kind of like they want to make it seem like Hippolyta is jealous of Diana or something, and in a way has formed some sort of resentment. But that's not the way to do it, and especially with the Amazons, and everything that they basically represent for womanhood. Yeah, they are to have, you know, little disagreements here and there. You will have that form of jealousy, but not between Hippolyta and Diana. Their relationship, any type of arguments that they have, or, you know, it should come in the place of love and protection.
Exactly. What do you think, Jid?
Yeah, exactly. When it comes to the relationship between Hippolyta and Diana, I only feel like only one writer ever got it right with their relationship, and that's Perez. Everyone that's come after Perez, like consequently, it's just been damage after damage. Like Hippolyta's like character assassination started with Master Loeb, in my opinion, and it just translated all the way down to down.
Exactly.
Now we're here with, you know, Mr. Who, Mr. Tom King, and
And
that's where we're at.
I hate the way Bloodlines depicted it.
Yeah.
That Hippolyta would raise a sword and want to fight Diana.
Well, not only that, but remember that DC Heroes app that had an animated series that would like follow your choices and stuff?
Yeah.
But they did so they basically showed the origin of Wonder Woman, and so Steve crashed land as usual, but the Amazons were going to kill him because he's a man, and then Diana raised a sword to protect him against the Amazons.
Ugh,
that's the origin, and I was like, oh, are you kidding me?
That's so bad.
What happened to that? Because it seemed like no one talked about that. It just,
you know, it's kind of funny. It hasn't been updated in months.
Oh wow!
So
methinks they were like, people hate this. Move on.
Yeah.
I mean, you made Diana old as dirt too. You know.
Well, also Diana's accent kind of sounds vaguely German, and I go, that's not where she's from.
Yeah, I mean, it just really just died after a month. It seemed like, you know, what was it? I think the last thing you talked about was like episode 7 or something.
Yeah.
And then so it didn't even last a whole. I mean, at least give me 12 episodes.
They didn't even conclude the story. They just left it, and I go, oh, wow, guys. Right, Cameron says, I only accept the new 52 Amazons if they're a different tribe led by a woman who became the very thing she hated and fought against. That would be an idea, but it's an idea they've never done. So that's the thing. But so, and the other thing that I've always loved the idea of, and this would be something that I would definitely do, is that the Greek gods were the original Justice League. In other words, that type of concept where they were the defenders of mankind, a la Blood of Zeus, Britt.
Exactly.
It's basically that. So in other words, we just say, hey, Blood of Zeus is canon to the DC universe now.
I mean, technically, it feels like it. You know.
I'll take it.
Yeah. This is the closest we'll get to a prequel of a Wonder Woman animated show.
Yeah, and Julian, no, we don't like Wonder Woman being 3,000 years old, because here's the stupid part.
No.
Because here's the thing about that. A, she can't date anyone in the modern day, because then she'll be accused of being a... I'm not even going to complete that, because then we'll get demonetized, but you guys know what I'm trying to say. But, yeah, you really can't. Plus, it's just, it doesn't work. It was cool for the movies, but to adapt that universally was a really stupid idea.
And between the three of us here, like, that makes me the most angriest. Like, ask Britt and Jared, like, I'll go off for like hours and hours about that.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, it'll be like, don't ask Grandpa Jid about Wonder Woman being immortal, or he'll go off. And Jay goes, only Kelly Thompson can save mainline Wonder Woman, or Jeremy Adams. I'll add that, Jeremy Adams also. But yes, I would definitely say NJ, and I look forward to seeing the absolute version of Hippolyta. That's gonna be really cool. More on that at the end of this episode. But so then we get the other concept of the Amazons with the Well of Souls, which I like that. I definitely also like that concept, how the Amazons are constantly like replenished. Although it does lead to the people shipping Diana with any Amazon because they're like, oh no. See, they keep being reborn because of the Well of Souls, and I go, guys.
Absolutely not.
No, they don't. It's these people don't get it. I'm just like,
Yeah.
see, here's the thing. Even if the Amazons don't mean sister, like brother, sister, if to the general audience, they may as well be saying that.
Yeah, and also I know in some writers they had to also stop working a couple centuries ago, and that's the way I like it too. So like Diana is the first Amazon in like centuries, you know?
Yeah, and she's the only one that's been born. And then people keep using that Earth One image of Diana and Artemis, and I
Oh
go,
my gosh.
she literally said, "We remember you being a baby."
Ugh.
And then they'll be like, "Oh, this is about like, but they're Greek," and I go, "That's not the way the Greeks were." And second off, so that's okay in terms of accuracy to the mythology, but the way Azarello made the Amazons, which was accurate to the mythology, is not okay. Like, come on, guys.
Get them, bestie.
Either we're going accurate or we're not going accurate. I'm sorry, I'm heated. Anyway,
You are on a roll.
I love it. I've been thinking about this
we're
all
here for
week.
it.
I've been thinking about this all week, Britt. I've been thinking about this all week, and I like the idea of I like her origin for Nubia, how she was reborn by the Well of Souls. That works perfectly for me, and then the protection of Doom's doorway. And by the way, side note. I loved where in the Clunrad run of Wonder Woman, that this is one of the good things they definitely did. There was like there was like exposition pages to explain what Doom's door was, what the different duties of the Amazons were. And I go, thank you for someone that was just getting into Wonder Woman at the time.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, this is how you get people to identify with Wonder Woman. You explain stuff to them. I'm like, what do you do? Or Tom King, you actually care to reference the stuff.
Right.
Which I know you don't. So the next part, this is something that DC just redid, and we're keeping it because this is great. Hippolyta is Wonder Woman on the JSA. So guess what? Because here's the good part about it. It doesn't retcon any stories out where they reference Wonder Woman fighting, because it could be just like people confuse Diana and Hippolyta together all the time. So that's the cool part. And the way I would have done it again is like Diana in a museum and saying, oh, it confused me and Hippolyta all the time. So I'm like, you could have done that. But honestly, I'm just happy that now Diana can be her proper age and not like 6,000 years old. Plus, it doesn't make sense that, okay, so Diana goes, fights in World War II, comes back, then Steve Trevor crash lands, and then she travels within the man's world and acts all a fish out of water again. I'm like, this doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I get why they want to make Diana immortal, but it's like, ultimately that doesn't, and by Lewis, it just happened with the new history of the DC universe, and this is one of the things I'm keeping. But again, it's like, Britt, I'm like, why? I'm like, and see, here's the thing. I get that some people had issues with Hippolyta being Wonder Woman because they felt like it turned Diana into a mantle, Wonder Woman into a mantle, but it's always been a mantle. The Wonder Woman name is the Amazon that like leaves to go to man's world and be their like ambassador. It's like even when Artemis became Wonder Woman, she was Wonder Woman, and Diana became Diana. I'm like,
right. It's
what?
just honestly for Wonder Woman, it's not like say Flash or the Lanterns. Being Wonder Woman is it's a, as I love to put it in to that context of a spiritual connection and
So
a
it's like
representation.
a special bond?
Jerry. Yes. But yeah, it's that representation for the Amazons, and it doesn't really take away from Diana, especially with Hippolyta's journey, as it gives her more clarification of man's world. You know, yes, she's dealt with this as, again, the reincarnation of a cave woman, but also just giving her that it doesn't make sense for her to be secluded on the island for that long and yeah, she dealt with Hercules and stuff like that, but to really just see for herself man's world in the 1940s and see how horrible war is. And yeah, she has um, that experience of being traumatized, and that is what makes her a little hesitant for Diana. But she knows that at a certain point, the mascara will, well, the world will need a hero from the mascara, and
Exactly. And Louise, the reason why Diana Hippolyta leaves, at least according to our timeline, is that it's Diane Trevor, and that's Steve's grandma, right?
It's Steve's mom in
Oh,
the Perez runs. I'm just
we
going off.
don't know. The
Yeah,
grandmother thing is Tom King's
because
oh,
OC
yeah,
BS.
no, because the name in the King book is different, so we're not even gonna look at bother with that. But I was gonna say the reason I went with this is because in the Perez run, like Diana Trevor, she crashed the island in the 40s, and this was someone who died on the island saving the Amazons. So I kind of played it off with that. So in our universe, Steve Trevor does not exist. Like he probably does, but he's not in Wonder Woman's mythos at all in this. Like he's probably like out and about. I don't know, like in the military or something like that. But yeah, he has no role in our universe here. So basically, what we
or
did
he
is
just dies.
he dies. We don't know.
And
So
Diana does not become depressed for
yeah,
centuries.
yeah, because the way that John Byrne and Jimenez like, I respect them and what they did, and they basically had Hippolyta kind of punishing herself being Wonder Woman, which in our timeline doesn't make any sense. Like this is someone who honored a woman who gave up her life for the Amazon, so she's trying to, give her respect to Diana Trevor, and she goes into America fighting the war. I think that's a way better concept. It makes it so much more easier to flesh out.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like that. That's also why Hippolyta names Diana Diana. It's after Diana Trevor.
Yeah,
Which I love that whole idea. And what people will say, oh no, because Steve's mom named her Diana, then they were fated to be together. And I go, no, that's not why that happens.
No, he calls her
Arguably,
his little
the only
sister.
thing Steve Trevor is destined to be with is the Sovereign's gun.
God,
I was gonna say the soil, but that's even better.
Yeah, I'm
wow.
sorry. That's the way he's destined. That's the way he is. Either that or let's see, what's another way to do it? The Nightwing Death and Injustice. There you go.
Oh my God.
Oh Lord,
There are so many characters I would love to give. That if I were a writer, I would have a book that's like everyone gets that, like Lois, all the characters I really hate.
Trinity.
To be like Trinity, John Kent, so many different characters.
Yeah.
But anyway, so and a lot of and the JSA disbands. I believe this is the way it is in action canon because of the whole McCarthyism and anything like that.
Yes.
And Diana returns. And by the way, Diana Hippolyta
Hippolyta.
returns. Even I'm confused. And in her absence, Nubia was the queen of the Amazons, which I like that idea of Nubia kind of being the backup queen, if you will, for like when Hippolyta has to leave. And Nubia takes over as queen of the Amazons. So I like that little idea. And again, as we said before, because if you have Hippolyta experiencing like World War II, that explains very clearly why she's very hesitant for Diana to leave and go to Man's World.
Yeah.
As far as she knows, Man's World is a brutal ass place.
Yeah. Yeah, and just the way you have like Diana being this inspiration for the superheroines after her. In our version, like Liberty Bell, Miss America, Dina Drake as the first Black Canary, they're the ones who look up to Hippolyta and like she's their hero. Like if Hippolyta can be a heroine, so can I. So that's the way we kind of framed it in our universe.
Exactly. And by the way, for those that are asking, yes, the Amazons have accents in our universe. It doesn't necessarily have to be an Israeli accent, but I'll tell you what. Here's the best. Here's what I think is the best depiction of Wonder Woman's accent: the Tomorrowverse.
Yes,
because because it doesn't necessarily have to be Greek. Because the Amazons, yes, they are based on Greek culture, but they're like a sort of hybrid of Greek. But I'm fine if it sounds like something like that. And by NJ says, does Hippolyta make the clay baby after or before she joins war? After for sure. In fact, that's actually good, NJ. You gave me the transition. So then here we have Clark's ship lands in Smallville, and then 4 years later, Hippolyta makes Diana out of clay. Yes, and to clarify, because I know NJ brought up the point, Diana can still be immortal. It's just by the time our stories start, she is not like ancient. That's the problem here. Or as Britt so elegantly put it, older dirt.
You know, I have to say that because she is. I mean, why do you want her to be basically before Christ age? You know,
I
like
don't know.
what is the
I don't
character
know.
development in that?
I don't know what it helps with the character besides making her sad. By the way, Britt, I will say Oldest Dirt is up there with Zeus laying his scroll in the most hilarious things that you have said on the show. I have to say that because that should be a segment on the show. The thing Britt says.
Oh yeah.
Like, oh my god. Or Captain Save-A-Ho.
Oh Lord.
I'm so it's like so it's to the point where other people are bringing up in my chats when you're not here, Britt, sugar honey iced tea.
Oh.
Well, I'm trying to be very helpful, you know, because again, we have to keep it PG-13. So I'm trying to, you know, find ways.
Yes, so we're trying to be PG. So as Zeus sleeps with literally everything that's female, like in Greek mythology, I mean that literally. So it's like, so Britt's way of doing it instead. I'm trying to figure out how do I say this without getting demonetized. Okay, you know what? Never mind. You know what I'm oh, that's good. That needs to be a Comics League t-shirt.
Yeah.
Sugar honey iced tea. That needs to be that. Oh my gosh. So then Clark Kent has his first kiss with Lana Lang. So he's Clark Kent, and then he like essentially leads he joins the Just Society to his package. Yes, Lewis. So. Oh, by the way, so 1610 Man says, so is Diana doing the coming of age trope like 18 leaving home for the first time? I don't think she's 18 when she leaves, but basically that.
Yeah,
she's
like
18.
20. Yeah, 18, yeah.
18, 20. In other words, new 52 age. Which
yeah, pretty much.
You'll detect a common thread, like, and Jid, I'm sorry I'm going to call you out on this. Every one of our characters are new 52 ages. I'm sorry. I'm not having a 45-year-old Batman. He could be the oldest, but I'm not having him be super old.
So basically, I mean, that is the ages that they have to be, even now, currently with DC. No one can be over 40, even though, you know, technically they have to be because that's why you have the legacy characters. So you essentially have everyone the same age, which is weird because, take for instance, John is supposed to be like in his 20s, but you have Clark that's still 38. I mean, so he had him still as a teen, or he hasn't even been Superman for that long, you know. And then Kara, she's just now turning 21. And Connor is still 16, but John is now older than him.
Yeah.
So the issue with ages is because it's trying to keep these legacy characters, and then you're trying to give the quote unquote older heroes actual biological kids, and that's just, it's not working.
Yeah, don't. It's not going to work. And by 1610 says that the new 52 had great ideas. Well, you've come to the right channel, because this channel is basically why the new 52 was awesome. The channel. Anyway, by NJ asked, should Martian Manhunter be like ancient? Yeah, I would say Martian Manhunter you can kind of get away with, because the way I kind of like think of his character a lot of the times is he's like more of like the ancient sage, and like he's kind of like the Justice League's grandfather, for lack of a better term, and that he's very wise and he gives advice and stuff. So what do you guys think?
Yeah, because I had originally had Martian Manhunter come around this time, or like when Clark and Diana are kind of born, like he arrives on Earth during that time, and no one really knows who he is. So he picks up on different personalities, kind of like the New Frontier
Yeah.
book, and right, like he's watching TV, he's becoming Bugs Bunny.
That
Like,
was such a good scene.
it was a really good scene. Yeah.
That's such a good movie. I love that movie so much, except for when it gives lame Wonder Woman lines. But besides that, it's still a solid ass movie.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
And then I like this. So Clark, so as you guys know, the Legion won't tell Clark anything about his future because that could screw up the future. But it's like maybe he like overhears them talking about Wonder Woman, and he's like, "Oh, who's that?" And it's like, because there's a scene in our timeline that I bring up that would be like my end of the timeline like moment, and then it like we go to like the next reboot. But it's like there you go. So it's like they look up to him and Wonder Woman. Why Wonder Woman? We'll see on that later. But you know what's kind of funny? And not even so for someone that's supposed to be central to Superman's life, as Twitter fans say, you notice how the Legion doesn't have anything about Lois?
Yeah, how odd is that?
It's almost like Lois is not as important as Superman fans think she is.
I mean, I don't even think with Philip Johnson Kennedy, or Kennedy Johnson, whatever his name is, he's doing he's trying to force his own like House of L timeline, and it doesn't seem like he's doing OC characters, and none of them have any type of something of Lois. And I find that very odd. Even when he was, of course, harassed by Lois fans, he was just like, well, Lois died a long time ago, and he, basically became Space Zeus, and everything. But yeah, it just seems like at the present time, because Lois exists to be just a love interest, she is basically nothing more. If not, she really has no type of role. But if she's, dead or in the future or anything like that, she's irrelevant. It just shows her impact is very just, it's a lot of telling and not showing.
Exactly. Telling but not showing. That's basically all of DC's editorial.
Yeah.
But anyway, so then we get the emergence of our favorite superheroes. So Diana discovers Diana Trevor. She leaves the island. Clark leaves for Metropolis and becomes Superman. And you basically have them being established as their superheroes. And obviously, well, for one thing, also, this is also the first time in a while that DC will have acknowledged Julia and Vanessa, because apparently DC likes to pretend like they don't exist, because it's like, where are they? I'm like, but while we know it won't happen in Tom King, I am hoping that they show up in Absolute Wonder Woman, because then I could go, hey, Tom King, here's another way you're failing. I mean, we already have Absolute Ferdinand, which we've got there. But I like this idea of Jid, of Diana becoming a student.
Yeah, it's something that's really not undone with Diana either, because she's either just straight up just Wonder Woman, and she doesn't really have like a side passion to her, like they've never done that with her character. I feel like, she's had the taco whiz job here and there, and she's done had the secret identity thing, but the secret identity thing, like in her being an agent, it falls flat. It's just like reuse stuff from the 40s and 50s. Like, give her something new. And her being a student at Harvard University or Boston University, being mentored by Julia, it would be such a great story for her, honestly.
Yeah, exactly. I've always felt that, like, if they didn't want to go with Diana being a ambassador, which is the first way I would go in terms of like what her career is, But a lot of ways, I would also say, how about if Diana is like a professor at a university? I always thought that would kind of be like an interesting. But by 1610 man says Greg Rucka did a Lois Lane book. I don't know if it ever sold, as it sounded like, but He Who Must Not Be Named, Jessica Jones knockoff. That's what it was, because he started off writing Lois, but then he decided he wanted to write Renee Montoya more, and also Lois being aware of all the DC reboots. That is like the biggest like, oh, like this character because she's so smart. Look at her, and I go, yeah. No, this is why it was kind of funny. And I sent this picture to Jid and Britt. I saw it in the bookstore once, so I gave it the finger.
Always makes me laugh.
Yeah, I know. I can't help it. I was at my comic book store and I saw the first issue of Trinity and I wanted to do it.
Yeah.
But still, it's like, yeah, it was a very, very, very cringe series. But by Cameron says, it's a shame that the only way Julian and Vanessa can be remembered is by fan material and not by the official sources like they should. I know, right?
Yeah. That's because of Steve Trevor, because apparently we can't have Wonder Woman without him, which is so stupid, because clearly right here we have a Wonder Woman without Steve.
And by, you know, it's kind of funny. Remember when Tom King's reasoning for not including the Wonder Girls or the Gods, because I want you I want to show people that Wonder Woman is awesome, and yet he makes her dependent on Steve.
Yeah.
Something is not lining up. See, I'm not a calculus teacher, but I think everyone's lying. Well, it's Tom King, and all that man does is lie. But he says, does Wonder Woman have her own city? She does, and she doesn't. I mean, yeah, go ahead.
There's Gateway City, Boston sometimes, then London and New 52. But yeah.
In other words, it depends. It depends. Yeah. It very much depends on the writer. I really hope Wade shows Julia and her role in the next issue. I don't think they will, but we'll see on that.
Right. It seems like what he's going for is just event based. Mm-hmm. It's not even and a little bit of rearrangements of certain things, but as far as like specific characters or character moments, no, I don't think we'll have that in these issues.
The one thing I will say, at the back of each History of the DC Universe, they do have a like timeline in the last few pages that get into more detail. So it could be that they'll address that. Could be. Anyway, so then this is me and Jid being petty. So you know, some people ship her with Barbara Minerva, right? Well, Barbara's not Cheetah in our universe. We're doing the original Cheetah, Priscilla Rich.
Yeah, and honestly, Priscilla Rich, like I've been reading some of her stuff in Alex Ross's Justice book.
Oh, yes.
That Priscilla Rich is a badass. Like that's one of my favorite Cheetah versions.
Justice is spectacular.
Yes.
And yes, I'm like, that's what Cheetah should be. And it's like, this isn't like, oh, some Cheetah's good, some Cheetah's bad. No, this is an evil Cheetah. And then also we have Diana saves Donna Troy from a fire. We're not doing she is made from the clay of Hippolyta to kill Diana or anything like that. We're just going with the most straightforward origin.
Yeah.
She is rescued by Wonder Woman, is inspired to join the Amazons, and becomes Wonder Girl. That's how that works.
It's much more easier this way. Like I have a different approach to this. I usually like the John Byrne version where she's like a twin of Diana and she is stolen by Dark Angel, and then she becomes a Titan way before Wonder Woman, which is kind of the basis of Post-Crisis, but it screws up the timeline when you think about it, so this is a much more cleaner approach to Donna Troy.
Well, also, I was reading the through my Teen Titans omnibus, and I got to the point where, like, Donna was seduced by one of the actual Titans, and I go...
Yeah, that's the Marv Wolfman.
Yeah, I was like...
Yeah, Donna Troy is one of the most disrespected like Wonder Woman characters. Period.
Oh yeah, bar none. Donna is put through the ringer on a daily basis. Like, remember? So, Britt, do you know how they tried to rectify Donna's true origins?
Do I want to know?
So it turns out this origin was fake memories implanted by Diana into Donna, but the real origin was the new 52 origin.
Oh, right. Yeah, that was
I
idiotic.
go, this is
You see
like
how
if you're trying
bad
to
Rebirth
dig.
is?
What this is, Britt, this is the way DC is when they try and fix things. Imagine you're in a hole and you're trying to dig your way out of it, but you're digging downward. You keep digging your way deeper into the hole. Oh, don't worry. We'll get out of here eventually.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean,
You can hear the fear and do I really want to know? Yeah. That was Britt when Jinna explained to her Amazon's attack.
Oh.
I have to reference that every. By the way, that doesn't happen in this timeline. I
Oh,
want to
yeah.
be clear on that. See, Tom Tresser does not get stung by killer bees.
you know what? I didn't. Oh,
I love when we explained that to that was the first episode we had you on, Jen. I love
Yeah.
Britt's reaction to that. She's like, "Who the hell wrote this?"
I mean, the foolery of these writers is kind of like, first of all, you get paid for this, and second, you know, some of these writers who think that they can talk and criticize other writers, but they write the most idiotic of things. I just don't understand that.
Yeah, exactly. So then the Justice League is formed. And then, Amazon attack. Bees, my God. Yes, exactly. So the Justice League founding members ranking is basically the Brad Meltzer run, which is Wonder Woman, Vixen, Black Canary, Zatanna. I like Zatanna on there. Flash, Green Lantern. Yeah, so we went with roughly this lineup because it makes Diana not the only girl on the Justice League, which is always a problem with like the founding members group. So I'm like, it's kind of, and NJ, more on that in a second. We're gonna address that, but it's like because I like the idea of Diana having other female characters that she can like talk to instead of like it just being all dudes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's plus it was always just such a peak lineup of Justice League. I mean, even Black Canary was the leader of this league, so I go, yes, I love that run and the Jeff Johns new 52 run are my favorite. Obviously, and the third is Grant Morrison because, yeah, but that's the first Grant Morrison book I could actually understand what the hell I was reading, but it's like. Because you have all the female team members were respected in that run, which is ironic because it was taken over and written by Dwayne McDuffie, the dude that pushed Wonder Bat in the DCAU. So I'm like, why are you okay here but not there?
That and also the same person that pushed Hawk Girl and Green John Stewart.
I know.
So...
Did you say Green John Stewart? I was like, wait a minute here.
Oh.
Green John Stewart.
It's kind of funny that, you know, in DCAU he pushed that, but also like implied that Diana was like 18. And here he implied that, you know, Clark and Diana had something, were married in a different timeline. And before he passed, he was going to have that storyline brought up where mainline Clark and Diana talked about, you know, a learning of that, the nature of their relationship. So yeah, I think that at that time, a lot of writers, they're messy in a good way or sometimes it is bad when they want to have their cake and eat it too, you know, with certain ships knowing, you know, they are going to get fan discourse.
Yeah, exactly. So then you get like and then Diana has her first battle with Cersei. I've always said that like Cersei is like Diana. If there's a character that is Diana, and by NJ says no place for Mira, not yet. She can join later because we do have the league expanding later. It's just for the starting lineup, for lack of a better term, this is where we're going. But don't worry, the league will grow for sure. And
Yeah.
yes, NJ she'll be basically Atlantis, because the way I kind of like it is like Arthur trusts her to rule Atlantis while he's doing surface world stuff. That's kind of the way they've kind of gotten that balance, if you will. You could say again that you have a special bond, eh, Britt?
Yeah, I'm gonna probably have to drink of how many times you're gonna say it.
These puns.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, it's not my fault that's such a great title. And then we get the Vanessa Capitella story. So what's this story about, Jid?
This one is where her best friend Lucy Spears takes her own life.
Okay.
And yeah, this is very monumental for Vanessa's story arc throughout her journey in post crisis. And yeah, I did read the comment about the her being Silver Swan being a bad idea. We kind of did something interesting with it, so stay tuned. But yeah, that's kind of the one of the big reasons she becomes Silver Swan. It's just kind of like she starts to have a bit of resentment for Diana in our version. Basically, Vanessa starts to have some resentment for Diana for not able to save her best friend Lucy Spears. So that's a kind of a way we're kind of leading that event up to.
Yeah, and trust me, as it normally is the case with Comics League, when we do stuff to fix DC's bad decisions. That's the whole reason why the Shelterverse exists. Let's not forget about that. So that's basically my job now, and since this channel's monetized, what you guys pay me for is to fix DC's mistakes, which it's my pleasure. It is my pleasure. Wait, which Connor Kent origin will you guys do? More on that later. We're going to get to that part. So speaking of Silver Swan, as a matter of fact, so so first off, we have the Challenge of Artemis storyline, and we do something very special with this later. Trust me, this is an idea I had that I must say is a stroke of genius. But anyway, so we have Artemis becoming Wonder Woman temporarily. Wait, do you all agree on Cersei? Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Cersei, in many ways, is Diana's like Lex Luthor or her Joker. It's just that she can have other like side villains, but in terms of ones, when I think of Wonder Woman, I think of Cersei.
I think it's been that way since the 80s. Like before the 80s, it was mostly Cheetah, but after the 80s, it switched to Cersei, and that's pretty much been the thing.
Yeah, because again, I always say this is why I like Grail as a Wonder Woman villain, but it also applies to Cersei. Cersei and Grail are both like, in their own ways, dark reflections of Diana.
Yes.
In the same way that like Eobard Thawne is the dark reflection of Barry, and how Zod is the dark reflection of Clark. I always feel like those are the best villains when they're the dark reflection of, like, you could say, like, it puts the hero in an interesting space. Like, if I wasn't raised the way I was, I could turn out like this person.
Yeah.
What do you think, Britt?
Right. Oh, one more thing that I wanted to add to Diana being a student turned teacher.
Mhm.
It also is the connection to her and Julia of, just making Julia more important, that Diana is inspired instead of becoming. DCEU had her as a curator, right? Or
yeah, exactly.
Well, I would say that is fine, but being of who Diana is as a nurturer and the inspiration for younger heroes or even older heroes, and also just that, not so much as Den Mother. She's not about to babysit the children of the Justice League, but just as that, still that mother figure, and also that big sister that goes into her being an educator. And what's weird that I don't understand about Mark Waid is how he questions himself, but he is the one who pretty much implanted that with Kingdom Come, and also Midsummer Nightmare. He had Diana as an educator, that she was helping young girls. She was a professor at an all-girls school. So yeah, that whole thing, it also just connects with that mother-daughter and mentor-mentee relationship with not only Hippolyta as the first Wonder Woman, but now you have Julia as the inspiration for Diana becoming a teacher.
Yes.
Exactly. And Barry, hey, what's up, Dave? And Dave says, "Sup? Whatever you guys write is gonna be better than Mark Wade's stuff." Well, that's for sure. Yeah, exactly. So, so more on the Silver Swan thing, but it's more of like it's like Kale and Dr. Psycho. So you could say there's like a little bit of like mental manipulation going on there, particularly if it's like Dr. Psycho, Jid?
Yeah, pretty much. And that's pretty much what happened in the Post Crisis run too. So we did borrow a little bit more from Post Crisis for Wonder Woman, but only because it gave us these characters: Vanessa, Julia, and soon to come Artemis, and soon come way more. Like as we keep talking, eventually here. So, yeah.
Now, you guys may. This is the part where I really do something better than the DCAU.
Yes.
This is me and Britt. So we decided. So we're gonna obviously have to do like a Doomsday style event. We're not. I vote. Here's the thing. So Superman dies, but we do like more. Instead of dying, Britt. Instead of actually like dying, he turns into Doomsday, and Doomsday fully takes over temporarily instead of like him like doing the whole dying thing.
I like that.
Because it's like whenever Doomsday shows up, you're like, okay, he's gonna die. Can you imagine how like subverting your expectations it will be if they don't, if he doesn't die, but like he turns into Doomsday? Like I said in the DC AMU episode, which is what they should have done with the death of Superman.
Right. I mean, have it be a spiritual battle and a moral battle, because it goes into what he fears the most of how basically challenging him as a hero. He is always worried about what if I do become like a Doomsday and with all the destruction. And so he's consumed by that fear. And of course, you have Diana to help him. As far as fear, you have Batman. So it's more so of a spiritual story than just, who can punch the hardest.
Well, and in this, the way I kind of imagine it, if I were writing the story, is that Clark is like rampaging as Doomsday, and Diana fights him. Clark gets the upper hand, and Doomsday's about to like deliver a final blow on Diana, but then Clark like gains control temporarily and just flies away because he'd rather leave than hurt Diana. And this is the first like hint that they like each other.
Oh, that's so cute.
It's like Superman goes, "I've watched you beat the crap out of Hal, Barry, Bruce. I'm not watching you kill Diana." And then he just flies away, and then you get like, and then we introduce Cassie Sandsmark in here for Wonder Woman, and obviously we get Vanessa being jealous. Right? Angie says, "Didn't he turn to Doomsday in the new 52 and fight God Mode Diana with her trying to reach him?" Yes, that's exactly what we're referencing, NJ. That's exactly what we're referencing. That was the peak version of the death of Superman. Yeah. But and then we also have Connor Kent. Now, an idea I had. This is what I said for the DC AMU episode, but I think it applies here. So instead of him being a hybrid clone of Clark and Lex gets the DNA of Superman and Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
And merges them. So in a way, Connor is Superman and Wonder Woman's son in a way.
Yeah. But then we can't have Connor and Cassie dating. No.
No, they wouldn't.
No. I know why, and I agree with you, Jid. And I'll take that for this story alone to be as awesome as it is. I'll go with that. Even though, as much as I like that, even though it was Dime Store SuperWonder, I'll to quote Britt
exactly.
in one of her many sayings. That's right. You could fill a book with this, Britt. It's like it's a calendar. Britt saying as a day. Oh, so it's Tuesday, Captain Save-A-Ho Day. But anyway, I'll take it for this. Sorry, Dave says in a way. It could be a cover-up by the Justice League, claiming Doomsday killed Superman for a while instead of letting the public know he turned to Doomsday. That's a great idea.
Oh, that's amazing.
That's so what the Justice League would do. Okay, we're doing that.
Yeah,
All agreement?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. We're doing that. That is an excellent idea, Dave. Wow. Great. Oh, the Wondrous Superboy. That has a nice
Love that
name.
moniker.
That has a nice ring to it. I like
It does.
that. See, Tom King, this is how you create an organic son of Superman Wonder Woman. Plus, I've always felt that like Wonder Woman having a son is more having a daughter. I'm just gonna I will stand on that hill. I'm just gonna tell you that right there. So then we get the expansion of the Justice League with the Darkseid invasion. The way I see it, Darkseid invasion happens first, and it's so intense, if you will, that the other league members can't like do it. Like, here's what we do. So I know we have Superman coming back to life here, but hear me out on this. In this, they can't do it without Superman because like it's so like big. So Superman like got control of it, or maybe he like expelled it by like flying into the sun, or maybe like Zatanna magicked it out of him. The point is he got it out of his system and he's good. He rounds up the other heroes, and then in like a Lord of the Rings style battle, they all charge in. And that's Superman's return.
Perfect.
Hence, the Justice League Unlimited.
Yes.
And then if this were a cartoon, I would so do the JLU theme because that is awesome.
Yes.
And then this is where we get like the truly global superhero. We have Mira on the league. Essentially, the way the Justice League is now, that's what it is. Because the original like 7 or so is like, hey, we need more help. In other words, right? TMO asked, how did people react to Superman's death when that came out, or did people think that superheroes could die in comics forever? At the time, people thought that he was dead permanently because remember, at that point when superheroes died, unless you didn't see a body, they were dead. That was the rule. And then he came back, and that broke death in comics. But the only wise thing Max Landis has said in his entire YouTube channel. I'm just gonna tell you that. But anyway, so we have that. So then we have another event. And this was one of my favorite events for DC in post-crisis, Our Worlds at War. Mix of Our Worlds at War with sacrifice. But the point is with this, Hippolyta sacrifices Hippolyta and Julius sacrifice themselves to like end the war or like in some grand battle. And then obviously this really hurts Diana. And we hint that they're like that Superman and Wonder Woman have been struggling with this connection. Plus, it also I would so add the scene where Superman ignores everyone and just gets Diana out and ignores Lois trilling in his ear. I'd be like, yes. But anyway, so it's kind of like Wonder Woman basically says, "Hey, I lost my mothers, if you will, because she always considered Julia to be a mom figure for her," and goes, life is too short, particularly in what we go through on a daily basis. So I'm not gonna like. I'm the goddess of truth. I can't like hide how I feel about you anymore. And then we get the coupling, which is, and then they're to get it together essentially. A quick question: who was the Justice League a villain in your timeline? For the expansion, it was Darkseid because it was the Darkseid invasion. But if you're talking about here,
Starro, like
Starro,
yeah, just do Starro so we can recreate that cover. Which I wish that they could do that in the DCU, but then again, James Gunn had the Suicide Squad kill him. So
and then you also have Vandal Savage. We introduced him at the very start, so he can also be a great adversary to them. So.
Yeah, exactly. So that works. That works. And by the way, TMO says, is Justice League 2006 considered to be the best, if not comic books about this team? You mean the Brad Meltzer run? Yeah, at least I would say so. I mean, Grant Morrison, that and the Jeff Johns run are like my 3 holy trinity of Justice League runs, and what I always go for when I like talk about the team. But Dave says, at the time, no one expected Barry Allen, Jason Todd to return, for example. So Britt and I talked about this when we talked about the Winter Soldier. But yeah, Winter Soldier came out, I think, and then literally the next month, Under the Red Hood. So it's like Jason and it wasn't like intentional. It just happened to line up that Jason and Bucky came back to life at the exact same time. And then Uncle Ben came back in Spider-Verse. So they're never gonna like. No one stays dead in comics. No one. So and then we get what is my favorite Superman moment of all time. Superman being the crap of Apollo because Apollo's an idiot and shoots Superman with sunlight. Now I would add this. Diana, the same dialogue and everything, but Diana goes, "You really shouldn't antagonize him, Cal." And Superman goes, "He's the god of the sun. What is he gonna do? Blast me with sunlight more?"
Oh Lord.
That's the one dig I have in the scene is that if you had gone on and said, he's a god of the sun, I think I'll be fine. That'd been great. But the way they end it with Superman going, "Before you say anything, I know you could have handled it." And then Wonder Woman's like, "True, but it was hilarious to watch." And I go, "I love you, Charles Sewell. You could do no wrong, my friend. He was the original Jeremy Adams." And by the way, as for World War, there was a time when Black Adam was killing people left and right. Now he's a wuss. Yeah, I know. I know. Why did they fight again? Oh, yeah. Allow me to remind you, because it's my favorite thing to do. Apollo basically insulted Diana's honor by accusing her. He basically says, it's hard to keep track with how many people you... Okay, S word to describe a woman who sleeps around, in other words. And then Clark goes, "Excuse me?" Then Clark goes, "Okay, so you're a god, right? That's not like some type of affectation." And he goes, and then Apollo goes, "Of course I'm a god." And Superman goes, "Good, because I'm going to punch you. And normally when I punch people, I have to hold back. But since you're a god, you can take it, and I'm going to punch the crap out of you." Then Apollo blasts him, slaps him back. And I love how Apollo's like, where like Strife is like, "Oh, how will you ever see him the same again, Diana, when he was like taken down so easily? There'll always be a part of you that has like basically a wuss." And then Clark emerges and goes, and he blasts with sunlight. And then Clark goes, "You hit me with sunlight? You don't know that much about me, do you?" And then just throws him through a mountain. And I'm like, and I love Strife. She's like, "Oh my god."
I have no idea why James Tucker would think that, okay, I'm not adapting this.
Yeah,
I mean,
of all the scenes, why wouldn't that show up?
because it's kind of like you're adapting Judas Contract, you're adapting Death of Superman again. Even Justice League versus Teen Titans really wasn't like...
Well, because, Britt,
It,
again, Sam said this when he came on my show. A lot of these guys don't read the current comics. They're stuck in that era. So they didn't even know that this happened.
That's
why
ridiculous.
I say, and Jid, let me run this by you. This is a practice that I would run if I were behind DC. It's time to start gatekeeping old creatives and say, you can't do this anymore. Because if you're not going to adhere to the way comic canon is now, you don't get to write comic canon.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way I would do it. I would piss off a lot of people, but you know me. My favorite thing is to piss off people. By 1610 minutes says Legion of Doom playing in the background while superheroes reconstructing themselves after the event. Excellent idea. I love that. Dave said, "I would love the Center from New Frontier to be the canon first villain. It could also be recognized as a weapon of apocalypse." Yes, we're gonna do that. It's the center, and then that sets up Darkseid's invasion when the League expands. Excellent idea. So, quick question: Vanessa does her time right. Also, is her identity public? You mean a Silver Swan? I could see Diana trying to like keep that public, so when she gets out, she's like she doesn't face a lot of backlash. What do you guys think?
I agree with the same there. Like, I feel like since Diana is a public identity to begin with, like I don't see why Vanessa would not be either. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you could kind of go with that, but Apollo being arrogant never changed Apollo. Oh boy, and Clark humbled him real quick, which I love it. Why do they call Ramita for large scale battles in comics? I don't know. Anyway, the Suicide Squad as a contingency plan against the League if they ever went evil. That's a good idea. I could go with that. So then we get to the gods of Krypton. So Rao invades. It's Rao. It's not Roa, but I'll take it. But so it's that entire storyline because it also places like Clark in an interesting position because he and Diana are dating at this point, and he gets introduced her to his pantheon. Unfortunately, his pantheon turns out to be a total a-hole, but there is that. And then Hippolyta, and then Diana like helps him like resolve things. And then Diana is given a boon by the gods in that Hippolyta comes back to life. And this would be the first time that like Hippolyta sees like Diana with Clark and sees that like man's world is not what I thought it would be. It's more of what Diana has told me it is. In other words, it's more of like it is possible for man and woman to like be together, and essentially that leads to her desiring to open up the Amazonian embassy. There you go. I brought in the embassy.
Exactly. And also the thing with Hippolyta is like she was betrayed by Hercules, and same way her sister Antiope, she was betrayed by Theseus. So like having this it breaks the generational trauma that they endured with the Amazon sisters. Like they face so much violence, and to see that Diana, she breaks that and she has Cal on her side. And
well, the
Cal,
other thing I would do, Clark takes the lasso, wraps around his arm, and says, "I swear it, I'm never going to hurt Diana."
yeah, exactly.
There you go. What do you think, Britt? Or are you trying to send me a crying cat emoji right about now?
Quiet. No. Yeah,
Dang it.
that is the one thing that is the one thing that we were missing in the 52, and just really all of, you know, DC's history is that you don't have Cal really interacting with Hippolyta, and that would be something that's very interesting and different. You know, especially with him being the antithesis of Zeus and Hercules. So with seeing this um, powerful man that's very humbled, you know, and still he's from man's world, coming to loving her daughter and showing his worth and also respecting the Amazons. The only thing we had was from Our Worlds at War was basically that little bit of she's my best friend, but she's my daughter thing. And that could have been expanded on, you know, to really give us the um, at least Hippolyta's perspective of that dynamic and what she sees between them, even if they are just as friends. So, yeah, that is the one thing that, of course, we will always have in our stories or within this timeline is that Hippolyta and Cal having that mother in law, son in law type dynamic.
It works so well. So then your boy got petty.
Of course.
All right. So I thought, so how would I address the Superman Rebirth stuff? Well, so Rebirth Coward Superman, Lois, and John are clones created by Brainiac to infiltrate the Earth and make people doubt that Superman is the real Superman. So in other words, this is me giving the bird to all those people that call New 52 not real Superman. I go, well, screw you. I'm doing the exact opposite. And after this battle, Clark obviously fights them and defeats them. This is where we get like Superwoman. Yes, I'm taking shots at Superwoman as well. And the way I kind of thought this is like, Clark goes, you know, Diana, I've been thinking a lot about what's true and what's not. And with what just happened, with what I just thought a dark reflection of myself. I thought a lot about what I really. Jared's creating a war zone now. That's what this channel is. So, but Superman Clark basically says, Diana, I've been trying hard to like. I've always like tried to be true to myself and others. The one thing that I haven't is that I have been keeping a secret from you. And then she goes, oh, and he goes, don't worry, it's a good secret. Then he gets down on one knee and then proposes. and that's kind of how this. So in a way, in the way that the rebirth of Superman's emergence led to the breaking up of Superman and Wonder Woman, our version it puts them even closer together. So I need to find a good clip for this. This is me as soon as I wrote that. Yeah, that's me.
I mean, that's how it should have been. It was so mean-spirited. The whole transition and the beginning of Rebirth, and even now, is so mean-spirited. The fact that Tomasi, I have this whole thing of Clark wanting to propose to Diana, and then on Wonder Woman's side, her, thinking that she had this fleeting thought of wanting kids. It's like, oh, okay, we're gonna give you this bone or whatever, or have this dangling carrot, but we're gonna snatch it away, um, and show post-crisis Superman. First of all, if you go with post-crisis, he was never supposed to have kids with Lois anyway because their DNA or human DNA or whatever, um, incompatible and all of that. So to change that and then Tomasi to write that, and not only that, but to throw Diana under the bus to say, oh, um, to have Lois say, well, you could have married Diana, but Clark to say, oh, she doesn't have a Pulitzer, so that's why I didn't marry her. That was very petty and very mean spirited. I would never respect Tomasi as a writer for that.
Exactly. And then a 1610 man calls Rebirth a post-crisis nostalgia bait gimmick. Yep. Timo asks, what would we do about Power Girl?
She's just on Earth too. I think that would just be like their original, you know.
Well, what you could do is make her remember Matrix Supergirl? Just make that Power Girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could kind of do that. And by the way, the Kara origin for this is the Jeff Loeb book with Michael Turner. We'll just do that.
Yeah, it's just more simpler. Like with Donna Troy, we were having such a tough time with her, and then for Supercar as well. It's just unfortunate how both of them are so disrespected in those mythos. Like it's so hard for them to even be in the in Superman and Wonder Woman's life because the retcons and just them being diminished more and more for some strange reason.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just like, at this point, and that's the purpose of this, is to just simplify. Just go with the most simple, easy to understand origin. Plus, you can have more of Diane. It's like particularly what you could have is, so if we do it at this point when they're engaged, so as they're bickering about Kara back and forth, you could have Kara go, man, you guys back are like an old married couple, and then Bruce oh, they already have that part down, huh?
Oh, that's funny.
There you go. Yeah, see, thank you. And Don J says one of the most powerful versions of Superman is his descendant from the 853rd century, Kyle Kent, from the All-Star Superman. Yeah, exactly. That's the one where he's all gold. That is ridiculously powerful. Yeah, exactly. And Jeff Loeb's Supergirl is the best. Yeah, it is. And that animated movie is superb. Oh, and by Louise says, speaking of Earths, I'm assuming Earth 2, Superman and Wonder Woman are a couple too, right? Yeah, that's something that Britt and I kind of are playing with in the Shelterverse, is that every version of Superman and Wonder Woman is that it's a multiversal constant. What do you think, Britt? Just to screw with people.
Yes, of course. It is whether they are getting together at the beginning and or they have that slow burn. But yeah, a combination of anything, they will end up together.
Yeah. So then you get Blackest Night occurs, and this is really more of like the purpose of Blackest Night in this is a reflection on how far they have come because they're facing the villains from past storylines, and maybe the Blackest Night can create constructs of people that have died before, like Hippolyta, like a dead Hippolyta fighting life Hippolyta. Kind of like in the Greg Rucka Wonder Woman book, only it's not like actually Diana wearing the Black Lantern ring. And obviously she wouldn't be saved by Batman, but so you have that. So then we get to Warworld Saga. Now, I love Warworld Saga. It's a great story. My problem with it is that the team is all wrong. So my idea, so you want to send the warriors, like the ones that would like work really well in like a gladiator area. So my idea is Wonder Woman. So the team is Superman, Wonder Woman, and the Hawks.
Ooh, yes.
So you take all the warriors, and then Diana said, as they're flying there, Diana goes, "I thought the honeymoon's supposed to come after the wedding." and then Clark goes, "Consider it an engagement gift. We're gonna go liberate a planet."
Yeah.
Why did DC Comics restart Superman and Lois by combining nostalgia, TMO? That's most of what Rebirth is. It's the post-crisis writers feeling pissy that their universe is not relevant anymore. So they're like, "No, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it." That's what they all sound like. That is a live feed into DC right now.
Wait, Jared, can you go back to 1610 Man's comment about how to screw up Batman fans? That is that is funny because that's happening, and Dan Jurgens is writing that.
Yes, please do that. Please make that canon. That would be so great if that's canon. I would love that. I would probably improve Lois Lane's character. Because I saw a comment. Someone said that like they should make Diana a Batman character because that would like elevate her character. And then they had really crappy fan art of her in a Batman costume. And I go, no. Stop making everyone a derivative of. I love how entitled Batman fans are. They're like, "Oh, DC revolves around us," and I go, "No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't." But NJ agrees with me. They need to get new blood because the problem is. It's like a lot of these old-timey writers don't know how to write the characters the way that like they should be written now. They just want the characters to be written the way they were. It's like when someone says, "Oh, I'm a '90s kid," or or my Superman was like in the '70s, and I go, "That's a red flag, guys. A lot has happened since then." But so then, as you guys know, so what do you guys think about using Blackest Night?
I like Blackest Night, well, except for the Batman kiss, because it shows you like how much pain that Diana endured. Like, you know, even in the Blackest Night, we saw like Superman's death affected her, right? Mm-hmm. So they have these events. You can have those events, you know, with Vanessa as well. You see Vanessa, like she becomes a Silver Swan, and that hurts Diana so much. Like you can have those events with both of them, showing them like how far they've come across, and true love conquers all evil. So,
which except for her true love is not a dead man who never wanted her.
Well, yeah, exactly. Well, even on that, it's like because I read the omnibus, and here's the thing, Jid, correct me if I'm wrong. They never established that Wonder Woman and Batman like each other in that run. Rucka never does it.
No, and like Rucka's Batman was just a D-bag to Wonder Woman the entire time.
Yeah, so I'm like, where is this coming from?
Yeah.
Is it like Wonder Woman is like Wonder Woman wants the bad boy, to quote Jimenez? I swear, when I heard Jimenez say, "I want Diana to be with Batman so she can be with the bad boy," I was like, did I hear that correctly?
And then this is the same. Jimenez also put Hippolyta and Wildcat together. So there's that for y'all.
Mm-hmm. But 1610 Man says, Jeff Johns' writing style, we start everything to nostalgia way to pre-crisis Brian J stuff. Yeah, that's why Barry and Hal came back to life. Hal they did really well with because they modernized him. They didn't just leave him as the Silver Age Hal Jordan. They updated him. But
and he was also the Spectre, and he did some soul searching.
Yeah, exactly. And then he became he proved why he is the greatest Green Lantern.
Yes.
And Britt knows this because I turned into a Green Lantern fan. DC Rebirth was going on while Jeff Johns was running DC films at the time, right? Yeah. And it's amazing how the ineptitude of the comics always is reflected in the movies. It is uncanny how the two of them happen. Like Donjay says, what do you think will happen after the Crisis of Infinite Earths movie since they fused every character? I don't think they're going to continue that story. I really just think that was their way of ending the universe. What do you think, Britt? Britt?
My bad. I had it on mute. I have a cat, so
Oh, okay.
he's being a little attitudey for me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what was the question?
Donjay is asking, what do we think will happen after the Crisis movies since they fused every character? I don't think they're going to continue the
Oh
story at all. I
no,
think it's
yeah,
done.
that was done. From what Craig said, Craig Creed said he had plans for other JSA films and also the Bat Family, of course. But those were to be before the Crisis movies. Um, and they also wanted to do a Kingdom Come movie, which I'm thankful that they didn't because to have that looking cheap is a no go for me. But yeah, that was just the complete end of the Tomorrowverse, and it's all up to whatever Gunn is doing.
Yeah, exactly. And then I'm gonna say about Black Knight is the best Marvel zombie event ever. Yeah, DC basically showed Marvel how to do Marvel zombies, and it's better than DC's. And then Dave says, and how Jordan was done during the first place. It was right to correct what they did to him, and where Barry Allen literally saved all of existence and was seen as the martyred pinnacle of heroes. I know, so it's like, why would you bring him back? And I think that that was a Grant Morris. Actually, no, it was a Jeff Johns thing. Introduced it in Infinite Crisis when he pulled Superboy Prime into the Speed Force, and then Morrison is the one in Final Crisis that like actually brought him back. In other words, anyway, so then we get to the progeny. They have Superman and Wonder Woman have a son named Hyperman, and we get like now the Hyper Time event. The thing that we could use this as is we could show the alternate timelines that have happened. Like we could show the main DC timeline, and we could say, "Oh man, what a mess!"
Exactly. This is basically just having fun going through the multiverse. It's a way of again fixing convergence. You know how they had the multiple books and they go through different eras. So that's what we would have. And it will be something fun than again having that mean-spirited, nostalgic blindness of this is what I want. It's just more so of honoring, DC's history throughout the different eras, and different Elseworlds and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. What do you think, Jed?
Yeah, and honestly, like Convergence was just crap. Like I did not make any sense to me. And honestly, the Wonder Woman story, she was used as a mouthpiece. Like if you look at the Red Sun one, and she was fighting Power Girl, I was like, what is going on? And then she was in the church, and I think in her the Earth pre-crisis one, did not make any sense to me. I'm like, what is going
And of
on?
course, Steve had to die.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, of
that
course,
too.
So,
it's a multiversal constant. Steve always has to, as Britt puts it, kick the bucket.
right.
Yeah.
And the introduction of their future son, he is basically the protector, the, guardian or whatever of hyper time. He is the one that can time travel, um, and shows his parents and the rest of the Justice League, you know, basically what he's doing and how he was raised to not destroy timelines or other Earths or anything like that. he is protecting all of them. And essentially, he is the, anti-Brainiac.
Yeah, a lot. He's supposed to preserve all the different timelines, and you can have it where there were some timelines that he couldn't save, no matter how much he tried. And this is what, like, when Clark puts his hand on his shoulder and says, "Son, we try our best, but we can't. Ultimately, we can't save everyone, but we always try our best to."
Crying cat do.
Yes, it's a
I
whole.
will accept that. I will accept that right now, Britt. Send it.
Aw.
Oh my gosh, she gave me she sent me so many. She sent me 2 of them.
That was earlier, so I have to send you one to now.
This is I am like rolling in crying cat gifts every single time. Jeez, it's because I have known Britt for 5 years now, and I know how to push her buttons. I sound like a manipulative asshole, but still, I'll take it. I'll take it. So then we get just a DC event that I've always wanted to see, that DC's never done, but what I always want to see. So my thinking is, first off, it's the wedding of Superman and Wonder Woman, and unlike Tom King, we would actually follow through on the wedding. But the gods invade because they're jealous of the love and adoration that the Justice League get. And in other words, they see the Justice League as the gods' replacement. Because remember, in our timeline, the gods were the original Justice League. So this is a way of like bringing things #full circle. So the gods invade, and it's a Wonder Woman story, though. It's a Wonder Woman event called Wonder Woman False Gods. And what that is it places Wonder Woman in the position of having to choose between man's world and the gods. Obviously, she chooses man's world, but Zeus basically tells her you have to choose between your family and them. And then Diana says, if you really think I would ever forsake my duty as Wonder Woman, you clearly don't know me.
Exactly. And to show that she is the bridge between the mortal world and the world of gods. I don't know why DC hasn't had an event like this.
I know, right?
I mean,
and then Apollo attacks Superman, and Superman goes, "Last time I held back." And then he goes, "You want to see what I can do when I don't hold back?" And Superman has like a big grin on his face, and he goes, "Oh boy, I see. Here's the thing. I held out of because Diana was standing right there, and I didn't want her to see me beat the crap out of her brother, but she's not here." I love sadistic Clark when he's fighting the god of the sun. He goes, "What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Shoot me! I dare you! Shoot me with sunlight again, please! Do it! I dare you!" And then he basically beats. By the time Diana walks forward, Apollo is like crawling away. Superman just grabs him and pulls him.
Oh
back
my
in.
gosh!
He's like, and then Diana, and then he goes, "Clark, what are you doing?" And then Diana's like, "I'm in the middle of something. I'm humbling a god, okay?" Oh. 1610 is a great idea. Maxwell Lord is here is Ares.
As long as Diana is not neck snapping him, I'm good. No neck snapping.
That's a good idea. I like that idea. That is an excellent idea, 1610 man. But Bailey says, I don't think we ever asked the important question. Where would the wedding take place? That's an interesting question. So I think symbolically it should take place on Themyscira, so all of the Amazons can see that coexistence with man's world is possible. What do you guys think?
I agree, because again, 3,000 years ago, Themyscira wasn't bloodshed, and it was because they trusted Theseus and Hercules. So then 3,000 years later, like, you should have some Amazons who are very skeptical. They're like, oh my goodness, like, what if we're under attack again? Like, we should keep our guards up. And then they see that Cal, like, he respects the Amazon heritage, and he's carrying their philosophies with him. And then we have the marriage in Themyscira. And
the last part of the battle is on Themyscira,
Oh,
and
wow.
Clark and Diana defeat Zeus in the Themysciran arena, so all of them can see that Clark is not like you could have it. Here's the scene. Are you ready? So Clark has Zeus like by the throat. He's about to punch him, and then Zeus goes, "Come on, do it!" And then Clark throws him down the ground and goes, "I'm not you."
Yeah.
There you go. Is Britt sending me some more crying cat gifts?
Quiet.
Oh, come on, Britt. Come on, Britt. Don't pretend like you're not. But anyway, so what do you think of my story, Britt? And then that leads into the wedding.
Perfect. And yeah, as far as the wedding, it will be on the mascara because, yeah, it's something symbolic and it's a full circle of showing the Amazons now trusting at least one powerful man. Again, that's very humble and he respects their their traditions. And you're combining, you know, with Clark and Diana being the in-betweeners, you are now showing that they are combining their worlds together. You have,
Ooh, the other thing you could do is have it where Clark, because the suit is nanotech in the new 52, the suit reconfigures the suit so the logo also has behind it the Wonder Woman W.
oh, that is so sweet.
And then Diana puts the House of El Crest on the gauntlets because this is like a part of Kryptonian lore that I kind of like. I'm not sure if this is actual Kryptonian lore, but it's one that like I created for like the Shelterverse, but I'm gonna use it here. Where with the Kryptonians, whenever someone joins the house of like let's say Elle in this case, she adopts the logo, the house crest. So I thought symbolically, yes, she could have it on the chest, but I think she should also have it on the gauntlets.
I think the gauntlets is better.
Well,
But
they
that
also
also
did
goes
that. They did that in the McDuffie Justice League
exactly
issue.
right.
And
So
also, you know what's kind of funny? When I was reading Hikatea, hey, Jid, did you notice that Wonder Woman is drinking out of a Superman mug?
Yes.
I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I see. She's not drinking out of a Batman mug. So there you go. I love that. That's great. So then we get to this entire time, I want to remind people Artemis is dead because at the end of the trial of Artemis, she dies like in the actual comic. Ooh, Fortress of Solitude becomes half Amazonian architecture. Yes, yes. It becomes and he puts a portal in it to that Themyscira as a cultural exchange. So remember, Artemis is dead in this. She still hasn't come back to life. So the Dark Side War happens where the Force of Apocalypse invade globally. And this time it's like worse than it's ever been before. It's like a lot of stuff. So the League like splits up. We could have like the Justice League Dark, Justice League of America. And like the Titans also go somewhere and fight. And then it's like, so all the leagues are like coordinating. So Darkseid sends Grail to assassinate Wonder Woman. Now, this is something that I came up with. And here's the thing. I love Grail as a character, as anyone that's watched this channel knows, but I don't like her origin of Darkseid impregnating an Amazon. So my idea is Darkseid resurrects Artemis and turns her into his disciple. So Grail is Artemis. Obviously, Diana redeems her, but still, for the purpose of this, Grail is Artemis. So what do you guys think of that?
That gives Artemis a little bit more um, of a role, within at least Diana's story. I think that the reason why the Wonder Girls and just the whole Wonder mythos right now, they don't have connections to Diana. So if you were to do that and the whole dark side thing and change, um, I forgot what was her name, Grail's mother.
Marina Black, I think.
Yeah, if you change all that, it's kind of as you said, it's kind of weird with having Darkseid, with an Amazon. So if you have her resurrected in that way, as Artemis still a pre-existing character, just give her a little amplified role. That makes total sense.
And then, what do you think, Jid? By the way,
Yeah, because Artemis to me, like she was really great, like up until early 2000s as well with the Phil Jimenez run and Paradise Lost, and like she had a really good time during that period. But after that, she wasn't just in a limbo, like nothing going on for her. And even now, the new Artemis origin does not make any sense. Like she's not even from the bottom of Doll tribe anymore, which is so weird. Like
Mhm.
they took that out of her origin, which is what. So yeah, the way we have reinvented the wheel with Artemis is so much better this time around.
Yeah, and obviously she doesn't stay evil. It's just for the purpose of the story. Diana resurrects her, and then it's like there's an army of parademons, and then Diana and Artemis go, "Shall we, sister?" And then they like clash like gauntlets and like the Amazonian like warrior greeting, and then they just charge into battle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually didn't know Grail is half Amazon. Yeah, she is half Amazon, but it's one of those occasions where I love the character. I'm not entirely on board with her origin. So
And yeah,
that's why I kind of changed it a little bit on this.
they also had Grail and Diana being born the same day, which is like, okay.
I'm like, so it's not
Right.
you didn't really do anything with
So you
that.
have everyone born on the same day. That is so lame. You have Jason, then you have Grail. So basically, Diana has an Irish twin, and then a real twin that no one cares about. I mean, come on now. And then you
By
name
the
him
way,
Jason.
did you know that Jason was actually brought back into the main DC universe, and DC hasn't done anything with him yet? Right, 1610 Man says, what if Big Barda was an Amazonian sleeper agent? You mean essentially a spy for the Amazons against Darkseid? I could see that. That could actually be really cool. And
Yeah, but also Barda, she's against Darkseid because she's Mr. Miracle now, right? Like
yeah,
so
that's true. All right, Dave says Grail could be what the Furies are always meant to be. The Furies are basically the failed experiments of a new god's anti-life weapon, and Artemis was the first success. Yes!
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. And then she turns into be like Darkseid's greatest failure, if you will. But it turns out to be that's obviously a good thing. And then Superman fights Darkseid and gives the whole world a cardboard speech because I don't know about you, Jid, but that is like one of the greatest Superman speeches ever.
Mm-hmm.
And they defeat Darkseid, and obviously, Grail finally Grail is the one that defeats Darkseid and embeds him in the Source Wall, and that is the end of Darkseid.
Mm-hmm.
And then in terms of like the actual like war with the Antimatter and stuff, no, I'm not. I'm trying to keep this. I'm going to use this term to describe a Darkseid story as grounded as possible. Because it's like he's fighting the Antimatter now. Yeah, I'm not gonna do that right now. As much as I love Darkseid War, it's like my favorite DC storyline. I'm not gonna like do that right now at all. But NG says since Diana has returned to the Clay origin, Jason here ever comes back should get his origin retcon. Probably, I would imagine so. They probably should. But since they kind of brought back the Clay origin, but they haven't formally brought back the Clay origin. I mean, we'll see what the origin honestly is in the second issue of history, but we'll see what happens here. So then we get to Thy Kingdom Come. And when we get here is Wonder Woman is pregnant with Hunter, and then we see Hunter Joseph Kent is born. His suit is the Dan Mora design suit, because I'm sorry, that is like the most peak hybrid of Superman and Wonder Woman ever. Like, wow, it's Dan Mora, so that should like not work. And then Diana and Clark eventually retire, and essentially Hyperman has like become the leader of the Justice League, and the other Justice Leaguers have either retired or like become like more of like of like support duties are gone to reserves. In other words, now it's the next generation's time. So in a way, we just did 3G. Three. So we did the whole 5G better than DC did.
Oh yeah.
Exactly.
And it wouldn't have like bank roll out to the company. What do you want to say, Britt?
Yeah, Jonathan, as much as I refer to his name, you know, we have Dark Knight Returns, Milliverse, Jonathan. Hunter needs to be redeemed.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if it was his whole Hitch's whole thing about Hunter's origin, you know, for him to say that he basically needed to edit it and everything like that. Yeah, I strongly still believe that he was supposed to be Clark and Diana's kid from the multiverse, maybe New 52 versions, and editorially, you know, to not overshadow Rebirth status quo, they had to change it up. I do not appreciate how he changed it up. I mean, to go so far as Diana being assaulted and then unalived herself, that was just so unnecessary. But and then for Hunter to grow up, you know, believing a lie and Clark not being a true friend to Diana, you know, making it seem like she was a bad mother abandoning him just because he was a boy. Yeah, it was very petty. And again, everything about Rebirth was so mean-spirited. So again, as we always fix things, our version should be Hunter, redeemed. And yes, with the Dan Mora costume, why they haven't given any type of update? How are you gonna create a new, you know, design for this character and not do anything with it?
Or how about hey Todd, can I get an action figure of this, please? Please,
I
I
mean,
would
you
love that.
have having the son of Superman and Wonder Woman, and of course he has the big S, you know, on his chest or whatever, but also the stars on his pants,
And the belt.
um,
Look at the belt.
Yeah, the
the Wonder
girdle.
Woman belt, and then he has the lasso. I mean, that, yeah, is very 50-50, and he's not a clone of just being another Superman or well, there's never been a Wonder Boy, you know, actually, but he's not that. He's that combination, a perfect combination of the two.
Yeah, exactly. It's and by the way, so speaking of Todd, did you guys ever hear about the time Todd pissed off everyone?
Isn't that all the time?
Yeah. So this is what he said.
Okay.
So someone had asked him a question about if he'd ever considered doing a line of all female action figures, all female characters. So he's not against doing it as like a McFarlane store exclusive, but he says I can't do that to the stores because the female action figures, for the most part, don't sell as well, which is kind of true. But what he said is, all right, so imagine this. Imagine you have a son, and he did well. He got straight A's in school, and you want to reward him, and you want to buy him an action figure. So you go to the store, you buy the action figure, and you give it to him, and you give him the girl action figure, and the son goes, "Okay, thank you, mom and dad, but before I go to my room, can I ask you a couple of questions?" So did they have any war toys? Oh yeah, they had like tanks and jets and stuff. Did they have any monsters? Oh, you should have seen the peg. And you got me the girl action figure. And then so this is when Todd says something that is the most hilarious thing I've ever heard him say. He goes, I don't know if it's true or not, but at a certain point, serial killers begin in a certain spot.
Wow.
And I go,
Todd.
yeah, that's Todd McFarlane. He's being like extreme hyperbolic, but his point, he wasn't saying that he wouldn't do female action figures. I mean, he's done Wonder Woman figures, of course, but he's like, he can't do an entire like line of just female figures. And I'm like,
I mean,
is he wrong though?
I mean, you wouldn't want to have a Lois figure,
Well, yeah,
like what are
because
you gonna
what
do
are you
with
gonna
that?
do with Lois?
Exactly. But at the same time, you can have an all female,
You can have a set and stuff.
line.
Now, what he said he would do? Could I sell it through the website McFarland.com? Yes, he said he would be totally fine for doing that. He's just saying putting it in the stores on the store shelves. That's where he's like, I can't do that because in his mind, and to a certain degree, I get what he's saying, and he's kind of right to a certain degree. If the average guy has a choice between Superman and Wonder Woman, he's gonna go for the Superman figure.
Yeah.
I mean, is he wrong? He's not wrong. I mean, obviously with me, I have plenty of Superman. So help. I just ordered. So you know those Prime One Studio statues,
Yes,
those
yes.
big ones. I ordered the Wonder Woman one. So that's just me, but it's because it's like I have too much Superman stuff. But the point is, it's like not everyone is like me or Jid, where we're like we would probably pick Wonder Woman. So it's like I see what he's saying there. But anyway, so then we get to the in the Legion of Superheroes. So this is what I'm talking about with Diana. So as we know, the Legion has like a museum, and in there's an exhibit that has a Superman and Wonder Woman statue, and it's labeled Power Couple. And one of the things that we see is there's a couple. They're immortal, so they don't look old. There's a couple that are looking at the statue, and then they look up, and then they see like the Legion flying by with like Hunter and everyone like that, or like Hunter's kids and such. And it's Clark and Diana, and they see their grandchildren on the Legion. And then Clark goes, "Now I see why they didn't want me in that museum." So it's like, so what do you think about that as like the ending of our DC universe? It's like how it goes full circle.
Yeah, we actually have the connections. Everything actually makes sense. um, and with the ending, I appreciated, Kingdom Come ending of the 1,000 years, but I would say that the whole thing where Diana loses her immortality, or because she ends up with children, uh, I don't really agree with that. So
Mm-mm.
with changing it that Clark and Diana age together and possibly, die peacefully together, or Clark dies before Diana, that makes more sense to me.
Well, because here's the thing: it's like when people say that like Superman's not immortal, I'm like, as long as that sun is yellow, he's immortal. So I don't know what are we doing here? I'm like, it's like in the Tomorrowverse when they say that like Clark is not immortal. I go, the sun's yellow.
Logic goes out the window to make things work. It's the same thing with you know, with post-crisis Coward Man. He, you know, it's kind of like he's losing his powers or becoming weaker, even though, yeah, he's in the sun all day. It's the logic is not there.
Yeah, exactly. So, what do you think, Jid, of the way we pull this full circle?
I love this idea, and I think like I even had it down where it's like Clark's like, who is Wonder Woman? And like he's like when he's like 13, 14, training with
Mhm.
the Legion of Superheroes. And then it's like that's his destiny. That's his wife. That's his, you know,
Mhm.
his love, his and the person who makes him Superman is Wonder Woman.
Yeah, exactly. It's not Lois. That's what I just wanted to say that right there. It's not Lois. So so before we move on to our reviews, let's talk about other characters that we didn't get a chance to like really address in the slides, like the Titans and like all that stuff. Now, I'm still going to be clear on this, Jid. I don't want Batman being 15 years older than Clark and Diana.
Thank God.
I don't want old man Bruce Wayne.
Ah, okay, we're good. Because that was the biggest thing that yesterday night, like if you guys like, it was really funny. Like all of us were just like well, Britt was in the middle. She was like, "Oh, what's going on?" And then me and Jared was going off on each other.
I was like, no. You're like, no, yes, no, yes.
Yeah,
And
Well,
I
the
go, no,
thing
I don't
is,
want that.
yeah,
the thing is, we see how convoluted DC's continuity is, and it is a little bit hard, even as fans, to come up with a compromise or come up with how does this character fit within this certain timeline. If you want to go with a certain origin, well, another event or another character affects that certain origin or affects that certain character. So with Donna, say, with going with her saved from the fire origin, you have to wait until Diana becomes Wonder Woman. And with you wanting her to also be with the Titans, is like, well, now you have to either move Diana up to be Wonder Woman a little bit earlier, or you have to move the Titans down, if you want Diana to be younger. It's those certain things that I think why DC wanted to, well, it makes sense of having a reboot and a clean slate, because these characters now don't make sense, especially when you can't um have an origin that makes sense to everyone. So with our timeline, we try to have the characters revolve around Clark and Diana, but of course some things aren't going to mix well, but you have to do those adjustments. Now, yeah, some of the major adjustments, it caused a little bit of a back and forth, but at the same time, I mean, that is what DC does too. And that's basically why they have that story over continuity, or they don't even care about ages anymore. Like I said, you have John that's 20 something, but Clark is still 38.
Yeah, exactly. That doesn't make sense. But it's yeah. So that's why, to a certain degree, I'm kind of against legacy characters because of the age. In terms of the Robins with Batman, see, that's where it gets really complicated because how many Robins has Bruce had? But it's like I think I was thinking about this last night, and what do you guys think of this? Dick never becomes a Robin. He becomes Nightwing from the start in our universe.
no, like, cause here's my thing, like Robin becoming Nightwing is such a like essential part of Dick Grayson, and
True.
yeah, this is not about Dick Grayson. This is more about this Clark and Diana.
Mhm.
But as someone who loves Nightwing, loves Dick Grayson, like
Me
that's
too.
it's such a disservice to him to just delete his Robin or his
True.
as a you know
True.
So someone has to be deleted, or
Someone's Robin time has to get gotten rid of, unless you want Jason to always be Red Hood. I mean,
yeah.
but it's like you can't get rid. I mean,
you can have Jason as Robin like 1 month and then he dies.
He never comes back.
no, he comes back as Red Hood. We're gonna have that.
Yeah.
Because I like Jason as a character.
Okay.
We're gonna stay with
Okay.
that, and Tim Drake will just be like Tim Drake will be Red Robin from the start. We'll take that from the new 52, and then Damian is the current Robin. There you go.
It's much more simpler that way.
Yeah, I'm like, people gave it hate for gave the new 52 hate for Tim never being a Robin, but I'm like, no, that makes sense because you have to like realign things if Batman has been Batman for only 5 years.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, but Flash. Dave says the only way all the Robins work post Flashpoint is basically a superhero intern program.
Yeah.
I love you, Dave. But and then in terms of the Titans, yeah. So after Grayson leaves becomes Nightwing, he obviously forms the Titans, and the lineup. Let's just make it the Wolfman and Perez lineup.
Yeah,
That's the
Starfire,
peak
whatnot,
one.
Cyborg.
That's probably what they'll also do for the movie as well. So I'm like, just go with that. That's the lineup everyone knows.
Yeah.
But the thing is, even with what James Gunn is doing, he's already, like, he won't have a Batman unless he has Brave and the Bold to introduce Damian to.
Hmm.
So it's kind of like you're skipping everything, and you already have Nightwing, Red Hood. I'm guessing the animated dynamic duo movie is probably going to be within DCU anyway, to tell us, the origin of Grayson and Jason. But you've left off Tim Drake, So you have just Nightwing, Red Hood, and Damien, and I believe he also said that he wanted Cassandra Cain too. So yeah, you have this forced upon already established Bat family, but it even brings more questions than answers, especially even with Superman being just Superman for 3 years, and you already have a makeshift Hall of Justice. You know, Hawk Girl is she's supposed to be in her 20s, but she looks like she's about 13. You've never had a Justice League, and yeah, nothing truly makes sense already within DCU.
Yeah, exactly. Now, Lois asks, will Cyborg eventually join the Justice League? I would say this: Cyborg can be the liaison between the League and the Titans. How's that?
Yeah, I like that.
It's a
Yes.
compromise. He's not on the League, but he's like the go-between.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah, because let me put it this way, it made sense in the new 52 if they were like, since they were de-aging the every superhero for Cyborg to be a founding member. That's when people are like, why was Cyborg on there? What, not Martian Manhunter? And I go, well, the League was younger than it normally is. That's what people forget. Like, Diana was 18 when the League was formed.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you gotta like adjust it. But with this, it's like no, he'll just be like the in between, and then we can do that because like he has files on like everyone, so like he understands people more. So Jid, what other characters do you want to like address in our timeline?
Yeah, so basically I talked about Donna Troy, and then
Mhm.
even with Diana, because we even went back and forth with this on her age, because I liked Diana being a second wave hero and her show a bit way later than Superman and Batman, for example, like in Post Crisis. And like, yeah, there's like pros and cons to it. Like pros, obviously, like she gets to change what it means to be a superhero, and she kind of flips the script on what it means to be a superhero. The cons is you lose a legacy of her becoming like a rookie when everyone is established already. So there's
Yeah,
pros and cons of that there.
that's why I'm like not for like Wonder Woman showing up much after Superman and Batman, because yeah, eventually it's like, because then it's also like Diana is like, you could have Diana be like talked down to by Superman and Batman because she's the rookie, and I go, I'm not entirely like on board that. Plus, that's what they did with Injustice Wonder Woman, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
She was the rookie, and she even said that. So I'm like, I'm not entirely. I mean, you make a good point, Jid. Don't get me wrong, but it's like on that point, I'm like, uh. As far as like, Donna, yeah, it's like I'm fine with her event. Like, how long from like Diana saving her to her becoming a Titan is it?
Well, it's honestly so confusing because in our universe here, like Donna becomes Wonder Girl within like because she's 10 years old when she gets rescued,
Mm-hmm.
and then she becomes Donna like Wonder Girl within a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like 2-3 years. But then in Post Crisis, obviously, like Donna Troy is first Wonder Girl, and then Wonder Woman shows up like years later, which
Yeah,
is it does not make any sense, but that's
me
the way
neither.
comics are.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
people think post-crisis is all dandy. And by the
Yeah.
way, Jose says, are the milestone characters part of your universe? If we can.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be fine with that. I mean, they're part of this universe with Icon crash landing on Earth.
Yeah,
Which I'm
we
like,
yeah, we had it in there, but like obviously you can't squeeze all of everything in there, like you know what I mean? So
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Diana should be more experienced as a hero than Batman and Superman. I don't think she needs to be more experienced. I feel like she needs to be at least on the equal ground if she's going to be like a third member of like the Trinity or like
Yeah.
the third leader of the Justice League, if you will.
Yeah.
10 Man says make Lex Luthor into a political career from the start. He's literally untouchable to Superman. That's a good point. Superman can't that's actually a really good idea. Like make him like the Secretary of State or the president right away, because that was honestly also kind of a really cool like status quo, because even when like he met with Diana in the White House, that was really funny. And I did like the idea of like him being like the president of the United States, and you can like have a subplot where like he's trying to undermine the country for Darkseid's invasion, because he's like under the mind control of Darkseid.
Yeah. Like we rag on Post Crisis, but Post Crisis, when it was well done, it was well done. You know what I mean? Like
the problem is there was too much BS in there.
Well, there was. That's the thing. But
let me put it this way. And Britt, remember, they almost had the R word of Wonder Woman in this universe.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Or remember, Britt, they had Amazon's attack in this universe.
Yeah.
And Britt has a special bond with Amazon's attack.
You were so funny.
Yeah.
I got you this time, lady. I got you.
Yes, you did.
Remember, bees, my God.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly. Would you agree with Martian Manhunter as the leader and Wonder Woman as second command? Martian Manhunter is the leader of the Justice League? No.
He was during the well, not really. Like the JLI with mostly like Maxwell Lord and a bunch of like outcasts and losers
and Batman.
And Batman, yeah. Batman was just there to like as the A-list with a bunch of rookies.
Yeah, because DC knew no one's gonna buy this book unless one of the characters that people actually give a crap about is gonna be in the show in the book.
In the book, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I would honestly like. He could be an advisor for sure, but I think Superman and Wonder Woman in particular should be the leaders of the Justice League.
Yeah. It's honestly so funny. We excluded like Guy Gardner and all these people from our universe because I'm like, where do they fit?
Well, Guy is just a Green Lantern in space. It's fine. With the Green Lanterns, it's fine. Well, here's the other thing. Another thing that we could do, one of the leagues that fights Darkseid. So Diana had started a league of all the female characters, like the Justice League Amazon that they actually had in the comics, and it's got like Jessica Cruz, Carol Ferris, and like Mera and all those other characters. So because Jessica Cruz is going to be part of this universe, I will put my foot down on that.
Yeah.
There's no way we exclude her. Sergeant Rock or Rick Flag as Luthor's Secretary of Defense. Actually, I would have it where like Flag and I guess Steve and Rock are like on their own like military team doing like Lex Luthor's dirty work. So in other words, in many ways, in the same way that like in Dark Knight Returns, Superman was used as like a mouthpiece for the U.S. government, Steve Trevor is going to be used as a errand boy for the U.S. government.
Yeah. Also, another character that I feel like would be a perfect like blend, or not even blend, but something that would kind of make interesting for Superman and Wonder Woman is Shazam, because also War of the Gods, like Shazam was on the front lines of that book. So if you have like Shazam just being a jerk to the both of them, and him wanting to like updo the both of them, and then in turn like it's Diana and Clark like kind of like teaching him and kind of like being friends with him, and then they become like great allies together. You know what I mean? That'd be such a great tale with the three of them there. I even posted that earlier this morning as well. Was Shazam like dreaming of like hand wrestling Diana and he loses? Like those are like funny moments that they could just have.
All right, did you guys know that in the Tom King, I almost said Tom King Superman movie, in the James Gunn Superman movie, the reason why the glasses work is that the glasses hypnotize people?
What?
Yeah, James Gunn said he has hypno glasses, and he was talking to Tom King, and he's like, I just don't know how the glasses work, and then he goes, well, yeah, and then Tom reminded me that like it's a thing from the comics that's been forgotten, that Superman has hypno glasses.
Ugh.
So, Britt, what do you think of hypno glasses in the movie?
It's stupid.
I know, it's really stupid.
No,
also,
absolutely not.
Also, taking advice from Tom King.
And what's so stupid? Okay, so that's basically that could explain why he um, skipped over, how Lois knows of his identity. It, I don't even think that's explained. It's just that she knows, but it's never anything, you know, said. But having hypno glasses for everyone else, yeah, is very Silver Age, but in the worst way.
Exactly. But by the way, it's 1610 minutes by Louise. James Gunn, please stop talking. Yes, please. But so with Black Lightning, another idea I think we could have is, remember in Public Enemies where Lex Luthor had his own like superhero team?
Mm-hmm.
We should do that. Where it's like all the heroes that you would expect to be like doing the will of Lex Luthor, they're like a team that like Superman parades. He goes, as opposed to like those gods that live among us in the satellite, these guys are down to earth and they do the will of the U.S. government. And by the way, NJ says, would you change Dr. Psycho's height like Morrison did in Earth One? No.
No.
Have him be a little guy. I love that. Have him be a little guy. So, any other characters that you guys want to address before we move on to our reviews?
I feel like I'm good on my end here. Britt, how
Britt?
about you?
All good.
All right. So we now have, and the book that like inspired like this episode was the new history of the DC universe, and it's basically consolidating the canon. And the number one thing this book did that made me, this is a good decision. It's the best decision that DC's done for a while. So DC made it so Hippolyta was Wonder Woman in World War II, thus undoing Diana being immortal. Well, like ancient. And I'm like, no, this works. It's like, I remember, Jid, I convinced you of this with my content, but it's like the reason why this works is because, again, Diana, Hippolyta has seen in World War II, the particularly if she like rescues a concentration camp, let's say, she has seen the atrocities that man's world inflicts upon itself. And as far as she knows, man's world has not changed. So when Diana shows up and says, I want to go save man's world, Hippolyta's like, Hippolyta think about it like the dialogue that Hippolyta had with Diana in Wonder Woman 2017 is that, because in many ways that Hippolyta was acting like she knew man's world. So I would use like that scene. It's like, you have no idea what man's world is really like. And then we can have a scene where like Diana leaves and she goes, yeah, man's world is probably brutal and stuff like you described, but that's not going to stop me from trying.
Exactly.
And that is how you create tension
Exactly.
between them. It's still
wait.
respectful.
Organic tension.
Exactly.
Peter J. Tomasi.
Exactly. You have Diana's Hippolyta is basically battling her motherly instincts, her protectiveness toward against Diana's ambition and her curiosity, and her feeling of adventure. You and also, again, as I said, Hippolyta is the reincarnation of the cave woman who just wanted to protect her baby. So in her mind, in that spirituality, she is still that cave woman, and Diana is still her unborn child, or their souls, in a sense. So that is basically played out, as they are now living, and it's amplified basically by Hippolyta being Wonder Woman and seeing the horror. And yeah, the world hasn't changed, but Diana still feels like she is determined to, in a sense, change it herself. It's not to say that Hippolyta didn't do a good job or, be disrespectful or whatever towards the JSA. It's just she feels like she can find that answer, and that is why it connects to her being the embodiment of truth.
Yeah, exactly. And by it's 1610 says Peter Tomasi does hack jobs to get nostalgia bait money. Yes.
I mean, that's a
Yes.
little bit, that's more like chump change,
It is
but
chump change because that's not a lot of money. And by Louise says Hippolyta would be even more angry in World War II because aside from the Nazis, also Imperial Japan and how they treat, especially towards women, also U.S. nuking Japan. There's so much in particularly in World War II, that would make that make Hippolyta say, and plus combined with that, a man's America turning on the Justice Society because they thought they were communists.
Yeah,
That's the final straw, which like they don't even want our help, Diana.
even when you read post crisis Hippolyta's Wonder Woman, like she is like not vile, but like much more like she has much more aggression and fury than Diana does. And then you see the conflict when Hippolyta and Diana are like in the current time, like they have different philosophies and they actually argue about how they take their role seriously. Like that's the whole reason they fought in the Jimenez run is because of how different their ideologies are as Wonder Woman. So I mean, in our universe, we took that out obviously, and we're not gonna have Diana Hippolyta fight like that,
No,
like
particularly
unnecessarily.
not like they did in Bloodlines.
Yeah, but yeah, that's basically yeah. She was the more brutal Wonder Woman.
Yeah, exactly. And so then we get to, so overall I love this, and also the Perez Amazons are back. They're not like like as much as I like a lot of new Fat 52 Wonder Woman, I don't like the Amazons being R wordist that like are very aggressively anti-male. I get that was mythologically accurate because it is, but I'm like, no, no, I'm not a fan of that. So it's like in terms of this first issue, it's literally our shopping list of Wonder Woman like canon, and I was like, this is literally everything we wanted. Literally, all we got to do because issue 2 is probably going to address from where this one ends. Issue 2 is most likely going to address like Wonder Woman's origin. If they do the Clay origin, then we're back, people.
Yeah, but what I think is gonna happen is they're gonna do the Clay origin, but then keep Steve as a love interest. So
We'll see. But the other thing is like, can you imagine? So I want to see how far in the future this goes. Can you imagine if they don't have, if they don't in any way, particularly in like the modern day, say Wonder Woman had a daughter named Trinity?
oh, they just ignore it completely.
Yeah, because that way, guess what? It opens the door to DC. Because a friend of mine said that DC is not going to retcon her out because of how much marketing they put into her. I'm like, first off, they haven't put any marketing into her, and second off, if they don't solidify her in the history book, she's not like that means that they're like, no, we're gonna leave the door open to undo her, which they should undo her because she's horrible.
I
But
mean, even if
yeah, go
she
ahead.
is, even
Mhm.
if she is within this book, it's not anything concrete. They can say, "Oh, this is the new history," but it's
DC contradicts their history all the time.
exactly, they are going to contradict this a a month after the fourth issue comes out. I mean, they are already doing I think Bleeding Cool hinted at another Crisis event where you have relaunches and stuff like that. So,
Oh,
yeah,
please relaunch Wonder Woman. Please relaunch Wonder Woman.
yeah, so I wouldn't be surprised if, yeah, this is being done by Mark Waid because he wanted to, but it seems like the fourth issue is going to stop at basically the current situation where nothing is actually concrete.
Yeah,
So
I think really what this book is intended to do is give the broad strokes. Here's like the history of the universe, and then it's like anything previous to that. It's not like necessarily addressed in this.
yeah, it's a lot of still cut, copy, and pasting and rearranging and stuff. So it's not really the DC history as you previously read it that was actually published. You already have, yeah, we have the Perez run back, but you also have Tom King where he's saying, oh, the Amazons have always been in man's world, and things like that. So it's little details that Mark Waid obviously is ignoring to fit his vision for this.
Well, let me put it this way: if Mark Waid starts contradicting King and saying that, like, oh no, the Wonder Woman was the first Amazon, they haven't been in man's world, I will laugh out loud and say, guess what, dude? You're not. I will congratulate Mark Waid, and I will buy Mark Waid books, like more of them, if he contradicts and says no.
Yeah, I mean, everything is a contradiction, even with what King is doing, with his mouse man BS. It's none of that makes sense to Diana's origin or, her beginnings of being in man's world. She did not if you want to say that she has a Perez origin, where is Julie and Vanessa? How is she already in her own apartment or in Washington when she never lived in Washington? She was in either London or Boston or something like that. But, you know, just those little things, those little
Because of
details.
1984, Britt.
Oh, that's right. He is going based off of 1984. Oh my God, I can't stand this. But yeah, those little
Britt is
details.
having an existential crisis.
I can't stand this contradictory BS, is getting on my nerves because nothing makes sense.
I mean, is that really surprising you at this point?
It's not. It's not. It's just kind of like if you're going to do a take waste trees basically for 4 issues of history and still contradict yourself and nothing changes. I mean, that's pretty lame.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say, speaking of Mark Waid for wasting 40 pages of 4 issues, apparently he's been plagiarizing and using stuff from a fan site for his timeline.
Oh
I'm,
yeah,
Really?
that too.
I'm
I saw that. Yeah.
yeah. So
Because they don't actually do research. It's basically just looking something up, and yeah, he could probably copy and paste from a fan fiction. You know, you never know.
Watch, Britt. They start copying from the Shelterverse, and we're like, wait a minute here.
Oh my
yeah,
God.
which I'm gonna
Well,
yeah. Go
if they
ahead.
copied from us, they would actually sell.
True.
What do you want
Yeah,
to say, Jid?
their Wonder Woman, like I was reading the Wonder Woman fan site, like I'm kind of scared if he just goes with that because we have it goes straight to Kazakhstan's marks. We don't get anything with Julia and Vanessa. Like it's basically like Helena is basically Julia and Cassie is Vanessa, except there's no Silver Swan. And yeah, it's a mess if they do it that way.
Yeah. But speaking of good Wonder Woman content, we get Absolute Wonder Woman #9. So this continues the trend of when Tom King deprives the Wonder Woman fans of something, literally, Absolute Wonder Woman will launch and go, here you go! It's right here, Absolute Ferdinand. And by the way, I got 2 covers for it, so I'm going to solo lay out myself so I can show that. So I got the regular Hayden Sherman cover, of course, and then I got the one by Riko Murakami.
Although that's so nice.
Yeah, I love this cover. So, what a great issue. And they bring in a Wonder Woman, an obscure as hell Wonder Woman villain that, by the way, so you know what's kind of funny, Jim?
Mm-hmm.
Britt, didn't we use Queen Clea in our Aquaman Mira SuperWonder crossover story?
We did.
We literally predicted this, and I go, wait a second, where have I heard that name before? Oh my God. But
Yeah.
so what do you guys think?
Kelly Thompson doing the total opposite of Tom King is astounding. It's hilarious.
So
Because
you're saying in the same way that the Superman movie is like the reverse Kingdom Come, Kelly Thompson is the reverse Tom King?
yes, but let's get this clear. The Superman movie is not the reverse Kingdom Come. Whoever said that, they are only going, off of that because of the crest and with thinking the whole old-fashioned thing. But you don't, even if this world is established, you don't have any other heroes like actually there. You only have the so-called Justice Gang. How is that reverse Kingdom Come if it's only like three other or four other heroes? Yeah, it does not work. But going back to this, yeah, Kelly Thompson, she's actually respecting the lore. She already set the bar with the fact that she said that she's not doing, female Kratos, even though that was the original intent for Absolute Wonder Woman, just original female Kratos with witchy powers. She wanted Diana to have heart and basically feel as mainline of how mainline Diana is supposed to feel. Um, so yeah, to have Absolute Wonder Woman feel like mainline Wonder Woman and then Tom King's Wonder Woman be the Elseworld, it's hilarious.
Yeah, exactly. So, but again, it's like this is like amazing. So we get Ferdinand, we get like first off, again, the amazing like art with like Hayden Sherman, and I love whenever Diana's eyes turn red. And I love the return of Wonder Woman's badass helmet. And if you notice, the eyes of the helmet emote,
Yeah.
and I'm
Really,
like,
I did not notice that.
yeah, a few of the like expressions change, and I go, oh, that is so cool. And first off, I love that helmet. And McFarlane, make a picture of this. And by Cameron says, when I saw Queen Clea, I screamed. Yeah, exactly. That again, more evidence that Kelly Thompson obviously reads Wonder Woman, because the fact that you brought in a really obscure villain is like, whoa.
And Queen Clea has not showed up since the Phil Jimenez run, and that was like 25 freaking years ago.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, oh my god, you really,
Like
really.
that's the deep cut. Like yeah.
And I also love like the coloring about how the lasso is basically like kind of like a torch lighting, and like
It
you have like the
glows.
red light on
Yeah.
her. Yeah, I just in all of this, and the way Diana is with Ferdinand is superb. It's like all of this just keeps racking on the good stuff, and of course the cute like young Diana,
Yeah,
and
baby Diana is so adorable.
yeah, and I also love how Diana is like, I will not let anything stand in my way of finding another Amazon.
Yeah, the total opposite of Tom King, who is she created a Chucky baby Cabbage Patch Kid for Steve, a dead man, and her sisters who were tortured, killed, imprisoned and everything, she did not care for. So, yeah, again, for this to be the total opposite and for the Amazons to be Diana's main motivation is so refreshing.
Yeah, again, this is why it's like this. Louis says, I can't with the Chucky baby name. Yeah, that's what she is. But I cannot believe how fortuitous it is. We have a really crappy Wonder Woman run, but then the Lord provideth, ladies and gents, with Kelly Thompson writing what is probably one of the best Wonder Woman books ever. It's to the point I have all the issues so far. I also pre-ordered the hardcover trade. I
Yeah.
will. It's like that and Jeremy Adams' Green Lantern are the series where even if I have like the trade, the issues, I'm gonna buy the trades.
This is so crazy to me that Thompson has like all these characters within 9 issues, and within the first how many issues of Tom King do we have? Like 20 or some BS like that. It's like
23.
23, and we only have seen Steve and Etta just shows up just recently. Like that's embarrassing.
Well,
Wait. So Britt, you're telling me he's been on the book for 2 years?
yes.
2 years, and it took how long to bring Etta in the book?
2 years.
Ridiculous.
All right, hang on. I have to say that because this I'm just like, hang on. Where's the proper like clip for this? Because I really have to like I need I need a good thing. Oh, here we go. Any of these. So let's go with this one.
Hereby complete the mission of the Amazons by ridding this world of you forever.
I made so many anti-Trinity clips. I love them. Kelly on the main Wonder Woman. Can you imagine if the main Wonder Woman book is Kelly Thompson and Matea De Luise as the artist?
Oh yeah.
Oh my god, that would be badass. Or even like I wouldn't want Sherman because I don't want it to look like absolute Wonder Woman. I want it to be unique, but still. But it's like all in all, it's gotten to the point where because I've enjoyed Absolute Wonder Woman so much, I've started to pick up Kelly Thompson's other books. Like normally I don't like Captain Marvel, but I picked up the omnibus for her Captain Marvel run, and it's actually very fun. I enjoy it a lot. But like this is how you if someone's a good writer, it encourages someone to go check out their other work. And she made me like a character that I previously didn't like. It's funny how good writing does that. But anyway, so let's move on to the last bit of on the agenda. So Britt and Jen and I happened to watch a little documentary because I had back the Legend of Kingdom Come documentary and forgot that I backed it until like last week when I was like, oh guys, we can watch it now. So we all hopped on a Discord call and watched it. And first off, the basic thesis of this is like Alex Ross is responsible for why superheroes are respected. And you know what? They're right. So what do you guys think? I'll start with Britt. What's up, Britt?
Okay, so yeah, as you said, he gave the heroes a realistic outlook, and it's not just the funny looking granny panties. He, even if he does have them, it kind of takes it away because of everything else, within the scene. And when Benson, I think Julie Benson is her name, she's a writer, she says that Ross basically elevated the art, because everything looked the same. And it did. Every comic book did sort of have that same vibe, the same coloring, the same art style, the house style. But with Ross and the the realism and the paintings and everything like that, it gave something to actually stand out, you know, and it made you feel like this could be a live action movie, you know. Um, and then the fact that the story starts from basically the end, where Diana gives Clark the glasses for him to essentially become Clark again, because he felt like, you know, if he walked away from humanity, there was no reason for Clark Kent. But Diana gave him that back of, you are Clark Kent and you are Kal-El. You're both, basically. That speaks to and debunks the whole thing of Diana takes away his humanity.
So what you're saying is that she awakened his desire to be Clark Kent again?
Jared, I cannot take you serious today. Yes. Still, I agree with that. But yeah, it shows that also Diana is the moral compass. She is that positive moral compass, and the one that is the guide, the teacher, the educator, and she is the centerpiece basically of everything. Yes, it is essentially a Superman story, but I would say with having Diana again as his moral compass, that is why she is just as important. You also, they continue to reiterate that Kingdom Come saved not only DC but also the comic industry as a whole, because of the 90s um, edginess that basically crashed or almost crashed the market, and wanting not bring it back to that nostalgic stagnation. It was more so just bringing the heroes back to being um, inspirational or aspirational. And yeah, you also have them admitting that DC wants to have another Kingdom Come, but it's like a lightning in a bottle. You can only, it can only strike once of having such a story like this. And every other attempt, like you have The Kingdom, which is a sequel, and it doesn't just have um, that same grand feel, and even with Mark Wade doing the Trinity crossover with having 25 years of Magog's origin, it didn't feel like he was adding to the story. It just felt like he was trying to ride the coattail of the story, you know, instead of giving us, like I said, you're wasting Dan Mora's design if we don't have a story with seeing Hyperman or Jonathan, you know, as he grow up.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like with this was also the first time, and this is partly there's an image of the Justice League that Alex Ross drew, and it's like it's of them like descending from the clouds, and that was the image that made me really fall in love with the League, because it's like I've always seen like the Justice League, like I said earlier in this episode, of them being like the modern day Greek gods. And it's like the way Alex Ross draws them, it's like it's the modern day version of the modern pantheon. It is like superb. What do you think, Jid?
Yeah, and just with Kingdom Come, we discussed this a bunch of times as well. There's this whole perception of Wonder Woman being mistreated in this universe and this and that. It's like it's like there's all these excuses because it's a ship that they don't like. And it's kind of like, can you look past the ship and look at the story of Wonder Woman and look at how her evolution? Like, it's a dystopian world at the very start of the book, and it ends with a utopia at the very end. It's kind of like that's why she is essentially like a quote unquote a failure in the start of the book, and then she regains herself as Wonder Woman at the end of the book. And I feel like people forget that when it comes to Kingdom Come. And also, Alex Ross also designed one of the best Wonder Woman suits of all time. The one on the very left there with Gal Gadot's wearing there, and how impactful that outfit is, and how in modern comics of Wonder Woman, she has that eagle, the golden bald eagle outfit now.
Now, the movie may have been crap, but the eagle armor was dope in it.
I mean, it still looked like a golden chicken armor, but okay.
Yeah.
Man, Jid, Britt, you cannot let DC have a compliment, can you?
No.
Oh my god.
And also, like Alex Ross, especially for it being the '90s, and how he had artists like Mike Diodato, I cannot say his last name, drawing Wonder Woman with the freaking thong, and when she was so hypersexualized during that time. And on the flip side, you have Alex Ross, who is so respectful of Wonder Woman and gives her the autonomy and gives her agency as well, and lets her wear something that's Wonder Woman, that looks like her design, but is respectful. And I love that so much. Like,
he talks about it in the back of Kingdom Come. He has like all the behind the scenes stuff, and he talks about how like he wanted to make sure Wonder Woman was respected because she's always been a character that like he has respected and feels that she is the most important female superhero. And I go, yes, you are right, my good sir.
And even not just with Wonder Woman, if you look at all his female characters, like he draws them with so much respect and so much just high regard for them. Like, it's not just over sexualized. It's not just disrespectful. It's always been respectful.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like when you see like all of the like when you see like his origins, and because that's what the documentary also is, a lot of like his origins, the way he like sees things. When you see like how he literally drew his father into Kingdom Come because he wanted to see his dad like hang out with like Superman and Batman, and he thought that like the idea of like a preacher, if a preacher is hanging out with like these godlike characters, that like creates a very interesting like dynamic. Also, there are a few scenes where they like read out parts of Kingdom Come, and the Wonder Woman voice actress, I need to know who that is because she is perfect.
Mhm.
Like perfect. And then it's like it's also again when like how Mark Waid and Alex Ross didn't think that like Kingdom Come would be as big as it is, a book that we talk about literally 30 years later, and look at like what it has become as like one of the definitive DC like stories of all time.
It's always being reprinted. Like even the compact issues, they made a compact of it for $9.99.
I
So
mean, I got the Absolute Edition and the regular trade,
yeah.
but still, it's because with Alex Ross's work, you want it to be like blown up
Mhm.
and like used, and it's like it's one. It also shows that it's like Britt said, Lois is not what makes Superman human. If you're going by that argument, it's kind of Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
Because Britt, who encourages Superman to come back to humanity in this, in the beginning and the end?
Exactly, it's Diana. As I always say, Clark is the father figure, that's frustrated. He's basically given up. Then you have Diana, who plays the role of the frustrated mother, and she is trying to hold her family together. Um, she loses things, but she still tries to stay strong, and she has this facade, until she has her own breaking point. And then you have Bruce as the uncle, godfather, and he's going through his own turmoil. But everything comes together, and you have Clark be, in a sense, inspired by Diana to uh, rile up or get get it together with their bad kids. These younger generation of the heroes are basically their kids, and they have to teach them a better way. And that again goes until the end, where Wade says that Diana, she was a failed student because she was still young, ambitious. She thought that it would be easy to change the world, that she could teach the ways of the Amazons, but she didn't realize how stubborn man's world is, how set in certain ways. Evil can't be uh, defeated, you know, in such a quick way. And it's a journey that she has to go through. So yeah, a lot of that goes within this story, and that was the purpose of the story, especially again with the meta commentary of how the 90s was so edgy and everyone just wanted death and destruction, and for heroes to become more anti, uh more like have this sort of gray outlook of things, and be the anti-heroes. Or you have Death of Superman, which they felt like, oh, death is now like a thing for popular characters to have that quick boost of sales, which short term and long term, it affected the market. So you have this story that will reels everything back into to how it's supposed to be. And again, it's not a nostalgic thing. It's just more so, let these characters actually be, fulfill their purpose in a in a more positive way.
Yeah, exactly. And by the way, Dave has an interesting like point. He should have the in reference to Mark Waid in the history of the DC universe. He says he should have the DC universe contradict itself completely in the last issue and make the other 3 issues pointless. Very meta. And I go, yeah, that's very
That's
true.
probably what will happen. Definitely.
Yeah, exactly. And also, it's like the other thing that like Ross did well is because when he draws the costume, he doesn't necessarily draw armor or anything like that. He draws like the cloth spandexy thing, but he makes it look cool. That's the true like wowness. And I think the reason why he draws it so realistically is because this is the other part of the documentary that like really go into. He has his friends model for him, so he gets like all the folds of the fabric and how they realistically move. If like Superman's doing a punch, he like can draw how like the sleeve like bends and curls and stuff.
And I also liked, yeah, that he used actual people for models, but also the body type that he has for Diana. That she's athletic. She's not this bodybuilder. She's not, um, how some fans think that she's supposed to be like 7 foot tall and all big dude muscular. She's just an athletic woman, and she's basically, maybe 6 foot, 5'11", but she is the embodiment of who Wonder Woman is supposed to be. I love his
Exactly.
iteration for her.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's the thing. Again, a lot of the key to Wonder Woman is understanding like balance, because that's all. If there's one word to describe Diana, it's balance. And Diana being like an athletic warrior, it's like the artist that I think best got like Diana. Yeah, and then NJ says she's 6'2" canonically. Yeah, but the thing about it, too many Wonder Woman fans want her to be absolutely jacked, like a muscle mommy, and I go, no, that's not who Diana is. She's not like this jacked person. In fact, Tony Daniel has said she's like a tennis player's like build, or like Alex Ross. I think is the most like, for lack of a better term, muscular his Diana is, but it doesn't cross that line of being like icky. It still is like that warrior like body type, if you will. What do you think, Jid?
I mean, even like Adam Hughes, I'm not sure if you guys seen the variant cover he did for the upcoming Tom King run, but his Wonder Woman has changed drastically because he used to draw Wonder Woman very like natural, right?
Is that the one with like Harley, Ivy, and Selena on the cover?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. The one where Britt goes, "Oh look, it's Wonder Bane."
Like it's maybe it's just for the comedic effect of the issue, because it's like, the Gotham girls versus Wonder Woman, and they're trying to he's trying to have this like comedic effect going on. But for Adam Hughes to have this big history of drawing Diana, like, because he is like second to Alex Ross in my opinion when it comes to drawing Wonder Woman, and for him to draw Diana in that kind of way, and that kind of like, the muscle mommy that they're trying to push on her, it's like, what on earth, like what has that become a thing? Yeah, exactly, Lewis.
Yeah, because that's why a lot of the Wonder Woman fandom on Twitter just wants Diana to be an object of their fetish, essentially. That's what they want. That's really what they want. And it's kind of icky, but I don't know. What do you think, Britt?
Yeah, I don't agree with the whole dummy mommy thing. You can keep that in the adult section of the fandom. But yeah, that doesn't make Wonder Woman. You know, it's it's even weirder the fact that they went to James Gunn and asked for like this 7 feet tall, jacked woman that does not exist to be Wonder Woman in DCU. I'm just kind of like, okay, yeah, you definitely have to sit back a little bit. um it just goes against the whole, I guess, well, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but at the same time, she is supposed to be, as beautiful as Aphrodite, and that means that she, even if she has that athletic tone, she is still supposed to be feminine, you know, and also have the body type or that image of the everyday woman. Having her jacked is not a feminine womanly outlook at all.
And by the way, Dave brings up Alex Ross has to wear an exosuit like Kevin Conroy in Christ on Infinite Earths because he broke his back carrying Kingdom Come. Yep, yep, that is true. That is true. Because we notice there's like a lot. It's like they even said this in the documentary. Sorry, Mark, but if you take away the words, people still know what's going on in Kingdom Come.
I mean, the story is Alex's, story. He just wanted the words to flow. And Mark Waid, I mean, he flip-flops and very wishy-washy about this story because he was bullied by Lois fans to question himself about how he wrote Diana. But it's true, when it's like at some points he criticized the story again because he was bullied, and then other times he wants to take the credit. But honestly, again, it's not his story. They actually, which they didn't put this in the documentary, but the other option for the writer was actually James Robinson.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, Mark Waid was just a choice. He was the better choice, basically, but he was just a choice. Other than that, it would have been someone else.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. It's like, and that's the thing. It's like, let me put it this way: Kingdom Come is what made Mark Waid's name. So I don't know why he flip flops on it because it's like,
Because,
yeah, the fans will like attack, but that's the way they're always going to do.
yeah, I mean, he could write Diana. Um, he did so in The World's Finest 30, Midsummer Nightmare, other, well, if he would, I think it was a Wonder Woman anniversary story, Dear Diana. Um, and if he give her, I guess, a central role, he could write her in the current Justice League book. But I don't know, he just flip flops, and it really comes from, like I said, questioning himself and letting the detractors, control his writing style.
Exactly. But going back, by the way, John Byrne's Wonder Woman has a balanced build. She looks feminine and strong at the same time. Yeah, but she looks high. So
Yeah,
let's not forget
and
about
she
that.
looks like
I'm not
she's
a
about.
fan of John Byrne's faces.
Yeah, she looks like she's gonna be what? She was 18 and looked like she's about 88. So,
Yeah, exactly. But going back to this, the other thing that I really, really that really hit me is that there are a few creators that you could tell really love the work that they do, love the characters they work on. Alex Ross clearly loves the DC universe in the way he portrays them. It's like, hey, Britt, it's like when we were talking about even Spirit of Truth, you can tell the man loves Wonder Woman particularly.
exactly. Yeah. And that is how these characters, the impact of the story can last longer. And that is why Kingdom Come has the longevity that it has, because besides Mark Waid again being wishy-washy, Ross, he put so much effort into the story and with all of his ideas and everything. So that is why the story has impacted not just DC, but the comic industry as a whole.
Yeah, exactly. And you could say that, like, in many, it's kind of funny, Britt. Isn't it kind of funny how the stories and status quos that have Superman and Wonder Woman together always end up saving DC sales?
Exactly. You yeah, that is pretty interesting.
It's almost like there's a commonality there.
Yeah, you did have post-crisis reboot where at the beginning they were building them up until the bait and switch. You have Kingdom Come, and then you have New 52. So, yeah,
I'm just saying, it's almost like, and now I know that correlation is not always equal causation, but when it happens this much, it's like, what? And then Twitter is basically Tumblr reborn. You're not wrong. You're definitely not wrong,
definitely
Lewis.
not wrong.
Definitely not
wrong.
Yeah, particularly with like the fan art community. Oh God, yes. There's like a
Yeah.
lot of really stupid stuff there. But so there's a lot there. But so the other things that I really dug is like even as like a Snyderverse fan myself, it's like you can tell that like Zach and like David Goyer, they were heavily inspired by Kingdom Come just because of the way they positioned the Justice League. Because again, Snyder really went into how like the Justice League are like the modern day gods, and that's very much what Alex Ross goes through, which I really dug. And then I just really like how, again, it's like in many ways, it's like Kingdom Come was like the story that put DC on the map, and that's probably why DC keeps trying to like replicate it, because they want to get back to that level of success. It's like that's why they did the Absolute universe. They want to get back to that era of success that made the new 52, but they don't get the other things that you want to have there.
Can you repeat that one more time, Jared? You kind of
Oh, okay. Okay. How much did you hear?
probably about the last minute.
All right. So I said that like I as a Snyderverse fan, I like Alex Ross because they both really like know how they both position the Justice League as like the gods, and I'm like, okay, that kind of works. The other thing I really like is like when you say DC constantly is trying to like replicate the Justice League, replicate the success of Kingdom Come. It's like they always try and replicate what was successful, but they forget what made it successful. It's like how they're trying to replicate the success of Kingdom Come, but of the new 52, but they're forgetting what made the new 52 so popular.
Exactly, because they don't want to. It's basically admitting what made it popular, especially when you have these older writers stuck in their ways. They don't want to admit that their status quo is basically a dried up well. And I would say, honestly, I would trust Zack Snyder to do a full-on Kingdom Come adaptation.
So you're saying that Zack Snyder has your heart? Another story another story title I made a pun about. You're saying he's your shelter from the storm?
Jared.
I don't know. I guess it would lead to a real odyssey of my heart, but all right.
Wow.
Louise says, "Oh wow, stories and different takes on beloved characters doing well. Who would have thought it would do well?" I know it's a new concept, but anyway, Jid, what do you think about DC constantly trying to like replicate success but failing?
Yeah, and you always notice they'll replicate. They'll basically use Wonder Woman's template and give it to someone else, which I won't name for obvious reasons. But they'll keep doing that over and over again, and then it does not work. Because obviously no one's checking for it, no one's caring for it. Even with Wonder Woman, they'll repeat stuff that made her successful, aka Gods and Mortals, and then screw up everything that made everything worthwhile about Gods and Mortals. So, like, I don't know what they're thinking. Like, when they did the Wonder Woman cartoon movie for the 2009 movie, based upon George Perez, with Julian and Vanessa were completely missing. And then there's Ares was such a joke in that movie. Like, Ares was such a compelling character in the
And
book.
Steve was the love interest.
Yeah, it's kind of like you can't just like use like that as your inspiration and then go completely against it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like Tom King saying that like George Perez is like the gold standard for Wonder Woman, but then he goes the complete opposite of George Perez.
Yeah.
It astounds me. But overall, fantastic documentary. You guys should definitely check it out. I hope that they release it publicly so you don't have to pay to watch it, because it is a 100% like the definitive a definitive documentary for DC fans. So that's what I'm gonna.
I honestly don't know why DC didn't um have this, you know, because it is a central story for them. And just like they did the DC documentary Superpower, they could have done this Kingdom Come documentary, backed it and have it on HBO Max or something like that.
Yeah, they definitely could, but it's like maybe they will put it on there eventually. But I'm just like I do kind of wish that like it would be more publicly available, so like more people could see this, because this is like again, it's like when you realize, because that's the thing that didn't really like it didn't really like hit me until I watched the documentary, just how much of DC's success that like is owed to Alex Ross.
Right.
It just astounds me. And the other thing, and Britt, you said this when we were watching the documentary, DC doesn't give Alex Ross enough credit for what he did.
No, because they're uh well, I won't say that. Keep it PG-13. Um, they are obsessed with Death of Superman. I mean, that is the story that crashed the market, but Kingdom Come and Alex Ross saved you from that story. You know, but they are continuously having that story propped up. And I don't really care that it's main continuity and there's a difference between Elseworld. No, it's still the fact that that story um has made Death in Comics and Superman's influence or his impact um, basically a joke. But Kingdom Come came in and elevated the character and elevated even Diana as an equal, as someone that's truly important as a female character.
Yeah, exactly. And it 100% does that, as it makes Diana, in many ways you could say Diana is the hero of Kingdom Come, because she brings Clark back.
Right.
So it's like, again, it's like Ross and Dini, I think, are the guys. Dini's the only one behind the DCAU that I would trust with Diana based on Spirit of Truth alone. Like, that's it. But anyway, so I think that's a good place to. Where can I watch it? Well, if you go to legendofkingdomcome.com, I think you can purchase access or like purchase the Blu-ray. But still, it's a fantastic. Like, I do recommend you guys check that out. But anyway, so I think that's a good place to leave it. But anyway, so Britt, what stories do you want to tease us with?
Okay, so chapter 2 of Odyssey is almost done. And yes, I am. I'm actually gonna up it. I will get 10,000 points. I will get that. Um, Also updating more one shots. I do have one that's just a little bit of fun, lighthearted, and especially with it being um a little bit of um Hippolyta's perspective. I and I was actually requested to finish, and I'm sorry that it takes like a year, but um Awakens, the very last chapter. It's only one chapter
Yes,
left.
for the plot.
And the plot, yeah, yeah, sure. But it is just one chapter left, so I'm hoping to finish that up and then get back to our 50 million ideas for the Shelterverse.
Yeah, because it's only been like 200 years since you did the last Shelter from the
Whatever,
Storm chapter.
whatever.
Anyway, so Jin, where can, but again, thanks for coming on, and where can everyone find you?
All right, so you can find me on Wondrous Tate on both Twitter and on Instagram as well there. And yeah, and also want to give a shout out to the new Wonder Woman book that's coming out in a couple of days. I think it's The Legend of Wonder Woman, which has Trina Robbins as a writer, and also The End of Pre-Crisis. If you guys want to collect that as well, that comes out I think in a couple of days here. So check that out
Yes.
too. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. And then next week is our 100th episode.
Oh
Yay!
my
So
goodness.
we will be
Very
doing
exciting.
we'll be doing a lot of stuff. We'll do trivia, we'll do a tier list. We got so much stuff planned. And it's gonna be another live stream, of course, because we want to share this with you guys. 100 episodes, Britt.
Yes,
Oh my
we made
god.
it through the milestone.
Yeah, exactly. And they did it on the year that I'm celebrating my 5 years of doing YouTube. Oh my
Oh
gosh,
wow.
so much is celebrating at once, and that's in October that celebration. But we will see you. We will see you guys there. All right, stay woke, everyone. Remember, Lois Lane is Lois Lane. She belongs to General Zod or Satan. Either works. And Steve Trevor belongs in the core of the moon. Actually, in the core of Pluto, or whichever planet is farther away from Earth and more hostile than Pluto. Zois and Max about for life. We'll see you guys later. Bye bye.